Chapter 11:29. Whoosh! Dao Tianxiangfei was a supreme being expert, and his godly power was dense. After swallowing a drop of diluted supreme godly power, his strength increased tenfold. A terrifying aura enveloped the area, and even the overlords outside the barrier were shocked. At the same time, Yi Qinghan swallowed a drop of diluted karma supreme godly power. His eyes glowed with a fiery divine light, and a golden light flashed. Flames appeared on the surface of his body, covering half of the barrier. It was as if the barrier was going to be set ablaze. His body also fused with the flames. Immediately after, a desolate aura appeared, wanting to destroy space-time. A powerful force suddenly rose. Dao Tianxiangfei's hair stood on end, and he pulled his bow to the maximum. He stared ahead, not daring to be careless. Yi Qinghan hid in the flames and gathered his desolate godly power. He merged it with the great wasteland tablet and waved his hand to seize souls. The order of the flames was forcefully mobilized, forming a sky-covering palm print. It descended from the sky and smashed towards Dao Tianxiangfei. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was like an indomitable war god. He soared into the sky and controlled the palm print with a wave of his hand. Heaven desolate technique. Boom boom boom. The sky kept collapsing, the air was burning, and the ground was lifeless. The entire barrier was attacked by Yi Qinghan. The barrier created by the Divine Lords was on the verge of collapse, and it could be destroyed at any time. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The sound of the void tearing could be heard. Yi Qinghan had exhausted almost all of his strength. With this palm strike, Dao Tianxiangfei knew that he would definitely be defeated. Boom! Ding ding ding! Whoosh! Dao Tianxiangfei did not dare to attack Yi Qinghan's body. He could only raise his bow and shoot an arrow at the flaming palm print in the sky. Bang! The sky-splitting divine arrow crashed into the flames and spun continuously, trying to tear apart the flaming palm print. However, the palm print was so strong that it almost distorted the arrow. Yi Qinghan's face was ferocious, and the veins on his hand were bulging. The ground beneath his feet was shattered, and the dust on the ground floated up and burned. Suppress! Boom! Boom! Yi Qinghan's divine power erupted in an instant. More than 10 divine personas rushed out of his mind and appeared above his head. They spun continuously and supported the Great Palm Imprint. The Great Palm Imprint became more and more solid, and its power increased explosively. It crushed the sky-splitting divine arrow and broke through the enchantment. Boom! A shockwave blasted into the galaxy as the Saint Masters from all sides flew into the sky to reinforce the enchantment. They repaired the enchantment that was almost broken and injected new energy into it. However, Dao Tianxiangfei, who was inside the enchantment, had his legs twisted and large beads of sweat dripped down from his forehead. At this moment, his godly power was exploding, and he couldn't control the impact of the sky-splitting divine arrow. He was crushed into the ground by Yi Qinghan. Boom! Puff! Dao Tianxiangfei's body finally couldn't take it anymore. He coughed up blood and knelt on the ground. His kneecaps were shattered, and the armor on his body was shattered. Bang! Dao Tianxiangfei's body crashed into the barrier. The close-range attack made him lose his advantage. He was not suitable for the challenge tournament at all, especially when his opponent was someone as terrifying as Yi Qinghan. His explosive strength could completely block his godly arrow attack. I admit defeat. Dao Tianxiangfei's eyes were filled with blood. He chose to admit defeat without hesitation. However, he was extremely unwilling. He roared, Yi Qinghan, if you have the guts, come out of the arena and fight again. Yi Qinghan put away the divine personas, and the flaming Great Palm Imprint disappeared. He looked at Dao Tianxiangfei indifferently and said coldly, even if you come out of the enchantment, you still can't win. At most, you will be chased by me. You won't be severely injured on the spot. Although the Saint Master of the Tao Heaven True Master Sacred Ground was unwilling, he had to admit that Yi Qinghan was indeed stronger than Tao Tiangxiangfei. The key was that his godly power was abundant, and his explosive strength was strong enough. Without either of these, it was impossible for him to win against Tao Tiangxiangfei. Yi Qinghan swallowed a saint medicine and quickly recovered his godly power. However, his aura did not dissipate because it was still his turn in the next battle, and his opponent was Hua Tianhe. In this short period of time, Yi Qinghan had recovered less than 1,000th of his strength. It was very difficult for him to recover half of his strength before Hua Tianhe went on stage. Thus, he swallowed several godly pills and saint medicines without caring about the price. The violent medicinal effects rampaged through his body, almost destroying his powerful physical body. Divine light flowed, and Yi Qinghan's mental power was fully focused. The cracked skin on the surface of his body quickly recovered. Tao Tiangxiangfei was unwilling to admit defeat, but he still quickly left and let Hua Tianhe go on stage. Hua Tianhe also wanted to kill Yi Qinghan. He entered the arena with a vermilion bird divine feather in his hand. It could destroy the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers. It was almost comparable to a supreme divine artifact. This was because this divine feather was one of the essence wings of a supreme divine beast. In the short span of a dozen breaths, Yi Qinghan had recovered 30% of his strength. However, he was still a long way from being able to fight against the Supreme Saint. At this moment, his eyes flashed coldly as he stared at Hua Tianhe. He quickly decided to delay for time. Immediately, Yi Qinghan merged with the little chaos beast and let it take control of his physical body. He fled with his physical body while he recovered his godly power in peace. "Help me hide for an hour, and I will reward you with the rest of the chaos origin energy in my hands." Yi Qinghan did not hesitate to reward the little chaos beast. The little chaos beast was instantly overjoyed and nodded without hesitation. Whoosh! Hua Tianhe waved his hand, and the divine feather in his hand shot out a divine fire. The temperature of the fire was even more terrifying than Yi Qinghan's. It was already considered a top-grade divine fire. Boom, boom, boom. The fire covered the interior of the barrier and burned the ground. The barrier was distorted as if it would collapse at any moment. The ground was charred, and Yi Qinghan felt a tearing pain. Suddenly, the little golden crow came out and swallowed the divine fire in large mouthfuls. It rolled around in the flames happily. Golden crow divine beast. Hua Tianhe's pupils constricted. He was extremely furious. He waved the divine feather in his hand and attacked the golden crow, wanting to kill it. However, the little golden crow did not resist at all. It only fled and swallowed the divine fire. Boom! Hua Tianhe was extremely fast. He changed directions in the blink of an eye and attacked Yi Qinghan with the divine feather. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's golden body was controlled by the little chaos beast. It drew a long arc and shuttled through the barrier. It almost shattered time and space, leaving behind afterimages. It did not resist Hua Tianhe's powerful attacks at all. Screech! Hua Tianhe was furious and revealed his true form. A huge vermilion bird divine beast appeared. The flames on its body turned crimson-white. The divine feather drew a long arc and pierced through the void as it chased after Yi Qinghan. The little golden crow was causing trouble in the surroundings. It swallowed the divine fire everywhere but did not fight Hua Tianhe head-on. Its afterimages filled the entire barrier. It was obvious that Yi Qinghan was at a disadvantage, and it was extremely difficult for him to dodge. The divine feather had pierced through his golden armor, but it hadn't harmed his origin body. Moreover, he had a fire origin body, so the divine fire was roasting his body and strengthening it. "Kill him! Kill him!" The transformed vermilion bird divine beast and followers clamored. They could not wait to surround him. The people of the insane sect were extremely nervous. It was obvious that they did not have the strength to continue the second battle. Their godheads were empty, and they could not use the 9 dragon roots to replenish their godhead. They could only stall for time. However, the divine feather in Hua Tianhe's hand was too powerful. It could fly in the sky and burrow into the ground, taking people's lives from thousands of miles away. Once Yi Qinghan was hit, he would either die or be severely injured. Chapter 1130. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The Chaos Beast's greatest advantage in the early stages was its speed. Other than that, it did not have any offensive abilities. Now that it was carrying Yi Qinghan's body, even a speed-type sacred beast saint like Hua Tianhe could not catch its trajectory. Yi Qinghan finally calmed down and adjusted his breathing. He mobilized the medicinal properties in his body and recovered his divine power. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Yi Qinghan's golden body flew under the Chaos Beast's control. He was chased by the divine feathers, but he always dodged by a hair's breadth. Once was a fluke, but what about twice? After 10 times, Hua Tianhe suddenly felt that he had been fooled. This fellow's speed was much faster than his. He was just toying with him. The Chaos Beast did not have any other abilities when it was a cub, but it was definitely good at running. Boom! Screech! Hua Tianhe turned into a fiery bird that destroyed mountains and rivers. As its huge wings flapped, space and time were burned into nothingness. Just like that, Hua Tianhe chased after Yi Qinghan for 2 hours, but he did not even touch the corner of his clothes. The people outside were dumbfounded. Many of them even cursed Yi Qinghan, saying that he was a coward who only dared to run but did not dare to fight. Vermilion bird ascends, flames burn the heavens. Nirvana style. Hua Tianhe lost his patience. He mobilized all his divine power and erupted with all his strength. He was ready to end Yi Qinghan in one move. At this moment, Yi Qinghan took control of his body. He formed a seal with his hands and turned it into the desolate reincarnation seal. It spun in front of him and formed a huge yin-yang fish pattern. It was like a bottomless pit that sucked in all the flames. Hum hum hum. 5 lifelike 5 elements divine dragons appeared around Yi Qinghan and faced off against the vermilion bird sacred beast. In my name, I command the world to combine the 5 elements. Dragon transformation style. Roar! The 5 elements divine dragons combined into one and were tens of thousands of feet long. Then, they combined with the divine dragon sacred beast's original body. Their might shook the sky and almost tore the barrier apart. Boom! Desolate realm-breaking force. With a long roar, Yi Qinghan returned to his original battle form. He clenched his iron fist and punched at Hua Tianhe. Whoosh! The vermilion bird stirred up flames. The scarlet-white flames wanted to extinguish the stars for thousands of miles as they blasted towards Yi Qinghan. Divine feathers transformed into flaming rainbows that seized one's soul. The experts within 100 miles were trembling in fear as they were suppressed by 2 top-level Saint-Child experts. This was clearly the strength of a Saint Master of the older generation. Open! Yi Qinghan's iron fist trembled, and his fist collided with the divine feather. His divine power formed a huge defensive barrier, and he took the initiative to attack, pressing down on Hua Tianhe. Boom! Boom! Whoosh! Whoosh! In a split second, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. The enchantment was completely shattered. The strongest moves of the two were not something that could be controlled by the enchantment. Many of the overlords outside the enchantment were sent flying while coughing up blood. The Tao hearts of the elite kings rumbled as they were shocked by the attacks of the two. Yes, it was too shocking. After the collision, the two killed their way into the void and disappeared into the depths of the wilderness in the blink of an eye. A 10,000-meter-long illusory image of a golden dragon appeared in the sky. It was almost solid and attached itself to Yi Qinghan's back. Boom! The dragon swung its tail and blasted towards the vermilion bird sacred beast. The giant vermilion bird flapped its wings and slashed half the sky. It forcefully sliced apart the divine dragon's giant tail, and the cracks in the void could be seen clearly. "Blade, come!" Yi Qinghan roared. He waved his hand, and his 10,000-meter-tall body appeared out of nowhere. Blade radiance tore through the darkness and chaos, and descended from the sky, ruthlessly slashing towards Hua Tianhe's divine feather. Boom! Hua Tianhe mobilized all of his spiritual energy to control the divine feather. It tore through the void with lightning speed, wanting to slay Yi Qinghan with the divine feather. Bang! Yi Qinghan's blade slashed at the divine feather. The divine feather bent slightly, and then an even more terrifying supreme divine power erupted. It trembled violently, and the shock waves surged violently. Yi Qinghan's golden armor couldn't withstand such a terrifying impact, and it exploded on the spot. Whoosh! The golden armor shattered into pieces and fell to the ground. Vermilion bird flame. Silent star river. Whoosh! Hua Tianhe raised the long flame divine fire again, and it turned into a sharp arrow supported by the divine feather. It suppressed Yi Qinghan until he was forced to retreat. Bam bam bam! Yi Qinghan kept retreating, and he was almost out of Blue Sky City. His face was ferocious, and his eyes were filled with ruthlessness. His domineering aura leaked out, and his will went berserk. He clasped his palms together, and the momentum of heaven and earth was forcefully pulled over. Borrowing momentum. No, it could be said that Yi Qinghan was forcefully conscripting the momentum of heaven and earth. At this moment, he was heaven and heaven was him. How could he lose? Great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger. Finger annihilating mountains and rivers. Yi Qinghan looked down at all life from above. A giant finger mark appeared in the sky, and it pressed down from the sky. The mountains and rivers outside Blue Sky City collapsed, and the trajectories of the stars thousands of miles away were deviated. The space was distorted. I want you to lose. How can you survive the next moment? With a long roar, Yi Qinghan pressed down forcefully, destroying the impact of the divine feather. He pressed down on the divine feather and blasted it toward Hua Tianhe's body. Screech! The vermilion bird cried out miserably. A drop of supreme divine power rushed into its body and shattered the sky, but it couldn't reverse the situation. There was a limit to a person's strength, and it was the same for sacred beasts. How could they fight against heaven? Defy the heavens and die. Obey the heavens and die. There is no third choice. Die! Yi Qinghan roared. He waved his flame robe, and his long hair danced in the wind. He blasted toward Hua Tianhe again. Crack! Ah! An ear-piercing sound of broken bones resounded through the void. The vermilion bird's wings were broken, and it cried out miserably as its body fell from the void. My tribe admits defeat. The vermilion bird's sacred leader's pupils constricted. He roared and rushed into the clouds. He blasted a palm toward the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger and grabbed Hua Tianhe with his other hand. Boom! The finger and the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger collided. Flames exploded in the depths of the galaxy and rushed into the depths of the universe. The pressure caused the saints and goddesses' breathing to stagnate, and their hair stood on end. When they looked at Yi Qinghan again, they suddenly felt that he wasn't a dark horse, but a true invincible god of war. He fought against the sacred leader of the older generation with the unparalleled battle prowess of the younger generation. Bang! The vermilion bird's sacred leader's body was like a kite with a broken string. He crashed into the ground with Hua Tianhe's body. In an instant the mountains and rivers cracked, and the sun, moon, and stars appeared. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan was smashed into the depths of the galaxy by the terrifying impact, and he disappeared in the blink of an eye. Nangong Batian was furious. He roared, "Old thing, you don't know your place. How can you attack a junior like this?" Cough, cough, cough. The old vermilion bird's sacred leader coughed out blood. His face was red and his blood was boiling. He was injured by Yi Qinghan's finger, and he felt embarrassed for suddenly attacking. "I'm sorry. If I didn't attack, Tianhe would have died. Moreover, Yi Qinghan's strength isn't inferior to yours or mine. He is already a sacred leader." The vermilion bird sacred leader smiled bitterly. Chapter 1131. Yi Qinghan's figure left a trail of flames in the galaxy. He could not control his body at all and crashed into a dead star. The dead star exploded, and he coughed up blood on the spot. His face turned pale. Yi Qinghan spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale and trembling violently as if he was expressing his anger. 2 flames shot out from his deep eyes as Yi Qinghan stepped into the chaotic plane. Boom! Boom! The melody of heaven and earth was solemn and stirring, reverberating for thousands of miles. Yi Qinghan arrived on the raging winds. Outside Blue Sky City, the Taoist hearts of the overlords roared. Their battle intent was shattered, especially the younger generation. They looked at Yi Qinghan with strange expressions. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan rushed back to the insane sect's camp. He scanned the crowd and fixed his gaze on the vermilion bird holy leader. He revealed a cold smile that sent chills down everyone's spine. The vermilion bird holy leader's face turned red. He could not help but bow and say, "I acted out of desperation. Please don't be angry, sect leader Yi. The next time the vermilion bird clan sees the insane sect, we will retreat and give way." Yi Qinghan was a vengeful person. He originally wanted to take revenge on the vermilion bird clan, but he did not expect the old vermilion bird holy leader to lower his status and apologize. Humph! This is supposed to be a fair fight between the younger generation. What are you doing? If all the holy leaders are like this, how are we going to fight this battle? Emperor Yi asked angrily. The old holy leader's face turned red. He was speechless and ashamed. Yi Qinghan did not want to push things too far. He waved Emperor Yi away and said hoarsely, "Don't do it again. Otherwise, I won't go easy on you." The second sorcerer god's eyes flashed. He did not expect Yi Qinghan's strength to be on par with him. He thought to himself, this bastard's strength is improving so fast. I can't control him anymore. The older generation can only save people and not hurt them. Otherwise, don't blame me for using all my power to fight until both sides suffer. Emoli said angrily. Naturally, Emoli was not speaking for Yi Qinghan, but for himself. The demon god mountain only had one terrifying expert, Yushin. The older generation was not as many as the sorcerer tribe. Moreover, Yushin was still guarding the demon god mountain, and did not come at all. If the older generation of other forces attacked, the demon god mountain would be at a disadvantage, not much better than the insane sect. All the holy lords nodded in agreement. The old holy lord of Vermilion Bird could only smile bitterly as he looked at Yi Qinghan apologetically. It seemed that he was extremely reluctant to go against the insane sect. Yi Qinghan wasn't an unforgiving person. Since the old Vermilion Bird holy master had sincerely apologized, Yi Qinghan didn't want to say anything more. He was only putting up a strong front, and his body was empty. His god force was almost exhausted, and he had been attacked by the Vermilion Bird holy master. He had been heavily injured this time, and he probably wouldn't be able to recover in a short period of time. In order to save time, he sat down cross-legged and swallowed a large amount of divine herbs to recover. Divine light flowed around his golden body, and his flaming divine robes surged. He defended himself, and the people of the insane sect surrounded him. The next battle had nothing to do with the insane sect. It was a battle between two ordinary elite kings. The battle was fierce, and they only wanted to show off their combat strength. They almost went all out, and they didn't want to be outdone by Yi Qinghan. After the time it took for 2 incense sticks to burn, The god son of the sorcerer race narrowly defeated the expert of the chaotic Holy Land and obtained 1 point. Then, it was the battle between Yi Qinghan and the Azure Dragon Holy Sun. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was still recovering his strength. He hadn't even recovered 1/5 of his strength. Everyone looked at Yi Qinghan curiously, wondering if he would admit defeat or continue the battle. The Azure Dragon Holy Sun stepped onto the stage and stared coldly at Yi Qinghan. He said arrogantly, "Yi Qinghan, I won't take advantage of you. I'll let you win with one hand." Yi Qinghan opened his eyes slightly and looked at the Azure Dragon Holy Sun's annoying face. He really wanted to go in and beat him up so that his face would be deformed. However, the power in his body didn't allow him to do so. If you can't do it, just admit defeat. You said it yourself. Face is not important. Resources are more important. Your life is more important. Emperor Yi was afraid that Yi Qinghan would be impulsive, so he quickly reminded him. "Leave it to me." The divine bird smirked and rushed out of his body. It was extremely arrogant, showing off its power, and rushed into the arena. "Even my master doesn't want to fight with you. If it wasn't for the agreement between my master and your holy lord, I would have kicked you out." The divine bird stuck to the side of the barrier arrogantly. It could escape at any time. The barrier couldn't stop it at all. The Azure Dragon Holy Sun was stunned for a moment. Then, he became furious and punched the divine bird. The divine bird exited the barrier and scolded, "You unfilial son! Are you going to go against the will of your ancestors? Also, I haven't even shouted the start of the battle. Why are you so anxious? Then roll up into a ball and get lost." Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect the divine bird to be able to enter and exit the barrier freely. The Azure Dragon Holy Sun was furious. His fists trembled as he looked at the divine bird outside the barrier. He couldn't do anything to it. "I'm coming in. Come and hit me." "I'm coming out again. You can't hit me, right?" The divine bird smirked. It was extremely arrogant as it went in and out of the barrier. The Azure Dragon Holy Sun stared at the divine bird coldly. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. The Holy Lord frowned. He didn't know what the divine bird wanted to do. At this moment, the divine bird ran into the barrier again. It grabbed the energy of the barrier with its little claws. It was extremely wretched, as if it was afraid that the Azure Dragon Holy Sun would kill it. It shrank its head and said, "According to the agreement between the Azure Dragon Holy Clan and the Azure Dragon Holy Clan, I'll let you win 1 round first so that you can save your strength to teach the people from the other Holy Lands a lesson. As for the agreement between you and the Holy Sons, just ignore it. We're an alliance, and they're nothing. Fight hard, little Azure Dragon. I have faith in you." After saying this, the divine bird escaped from the barrier and rushed back to the Azure Dragon Holy Sun, leaving a group of people looking at each other. The Azure Dragon Holy Sun was dumbfounded. He looked at the Holy Lord Qinglong in confusion. If the Azure Dragon Holy Clan and the Azure Dragon Holy Clan had an agreement, why didn't they inform him? The Holy Lord Qinglong was also confused. Since when did the Azure Dragon Holy Clan and the Azure Dragon Holy Clan have an agreement? Who made the agreement? The Azure Dragon Holy Sun was awarded a point for no reason, and it was based on Yi Qinghan's surrender. This was a huge favor. The other Holy Lands and Holy Clans were enraged. The Azure Dragon Holy Sun was toying with them. They had already made the agreement, but he still came to join in the fun. He was obviously a spy who came to find out about the agreement between the Holy Sons. Otherwise, how would the divine bird know that they had an agreement to deal with Yi Qinghan? "Azure Dragon, you and I are irreconcilable," the Sky Overlord scolded furiously. At the same time, Ji Wuhan and the others were furious as they glared at the Azure Dragon Holy Sun. The Azure Dragon Holy Sun's face twitched. He was furious, but he did not know what to say. At this moment, the holy sons of the other holy lands declared war on the Azure Dragon Holy Sun. They had all made it clear that they would go all out against the Azure Dragon Holy Clan in the following battles. However, the divine bird did not care. He looked around and stared at the group of holy sons and holy daughters in front of him. He smiled and said, "The two of you should reveal your identities for now. The Azure Dragon Holy Clan will definitely help you get the entrance to the Wangu Yuntian." The group of holy sons immediately became alert. They looked at the holy sons and holy daughters with suspicion and murderous intent in their eyes, but they could not be sure who the divine bird was talking to. "Damn it, all of you are spineless. Cooperate, my ass." The black tortoise holy son cursed angrily and turned to leave. Ji Wuhan and the others were livid. They all dispersed with anger in their hearts. They could not tell who else was cooperating with the Azure Dragon Holy Sun. However, the Azure Dragon Holy Sun had realized that the Azure Dragon Holy Clan was obviously a spy who had betrayed the Holy Lands. They would definitely be suppressed. Looking at the disdainful and angry eyes of the crowd, the Azure Dragon Holy Sun realized that he had been tricked. "I did not ally with the Azure Dragon Holy Clan." After a while, the Azure Dragon Holy Sun came to his senses and quickly explained. The other holy sons sneered disdainfully. The look in their eyes was clear, as if they were saying, "Do you think I am a fool?" Chapter 1132. The Divine Bird had completed its mission. Looking at the group of saint children biting each other, it grinned. Yi Qinghan didn't say anything and focused on recovering his godly power. He didn't have much time left. This was only the third round, and there were still 33 rounds waiting for him. The next round wouldn't be so easy. In the next round, Emperor Yi would fight an ordinary king from a holy land. Kings wouldn't easily admit defeat. Even if the opponent was strong, they would still fight with their own momentum. Therefore, Emperor Yi didn't plan to insta-kill him. Instead, he wanted to delay for a while and give Yi Qinghan more time to recover. Emperor Yi danced and entered the enchantment. Hugging his zither, he looked like a weak loli. Only his white hair couldn't be restored. Unless he reconstructed his golden body, he wouldn't need to do so. He didn't care about his external appearance. Just his face alone was enough to defeat the majority of goddesses. In the distance, Ji Tian of Karma Holy Land clenched his fist. He was ambitious. He also hoped to become a top-tier existence like Emperor Yi, looking down on all life and becoming a peak existence among female cultivators. After becoming a paramount god, she set her sights on the various divine sons and goddesses of Karma Holy Land. She wanted to fight for the supreme source in their bodies and gather all of Karma paramount gods' inheritance. In front of Emperor Yi stood a Pan clan's goddess. Her aura was very powerful. She held a huge axe in her hand and also cultivated the Pan clan's axe arts. Pan Qingqing's name was very delicate, but her body was even sturdier than some men. She was tall and big, and the difference between her and Emperor Yi was like the difference between heaven and earth. One was a weak loli while the other was a standard masculine woman. Emperor Yi raised his head and looked at Pan Qingqing with his bright eyes. He didn't attack, nor did he speak. However, his eyes seemed to be able to speak, making people involuntarily pity him. Pan Qingqing knew that Emperor Yi was very strong. She also knew that Ji Wuhan had fled after being beaten by her. Ji Wuhan was comparable to Coiling Tiger, and the difference between them was too great. Therefore, she guessed that Emperor Yi was much stronger than her. She didn't dare to be high-profile. Pan Clan's Pan Qingqing greets fellow Taoist Emperor Yi. "Please enlighten me." Pan Qingqing cupped his fists and covered his face with his giant axe. "Guangzong Emperor Yi, my friend, please enlighten me." Emperor Yi smiled, revealing a row of white teeth that were as white as snow. White light blossomed as he took 3 steps back. With one hand on the strings and the other holding the zither, The sound of nature was as pleasant as the sound of the zither. Be careful! Boom boom boom, whoosh! Whoosh! Pan Qingqing shouted in a low voice as he waved his giant axe like a man. His aura was ferocious. His 36 axe techniques were like moving clouds and flowing water as he chopped towards Emperor Yi. Buzz buzz buzz. A melodious tune spread out, forming a heavenly barrier in front of Pan Qingqing. A formless energy blocked Pan Qingqing's path. Emperor Yi gently pushed, and the energy wrapped around Pan Qingqing's giant axe, borrowing the force to push it to the side. Pan Qingqing's powerful force missed, and the axe struck the ground in front of Emperor Yi. The earth rumbled, and it was especially ear-piercing. Boom! Pan Qingqing raised her axe and chopped again. This time, she increased her strength, but the energy in her body suddenly became restless and uncontrollable. The harmonious tune made her lose control. Deep in her heart, she wanted to defeat Emperor Yi, but her body didn't want to move forward. She didn't even have the strength to attack. It was as if Emperor Yi was a supreme goddess that couldn't be profaned. The tune tore through the enchantment and spread to the outside world. Even the top divine sons felt warm all over. They were too lazy to move, but they felt very comfortable and didn't have the slightest hostility. Especially the divine clan and the 4 sacred beasts. They especially liked this tune. Thousands of Beasts Pilgrimage. This tune was Emperor Ye's own. It talked about all the creatures meeting their supreme king. The magnificent scene made people lose their will to fight, and their hearts were only filled with awe and excitement. Pan Qingqing was so anxious that her face turned red. She gradually lost control of her body, and even the depths of her heart gradually fell. It was obvious that Pan Qingqing and Emperor Yi weren't on the same level. She would lose without a doubt, and there was no point in continuing the fight. Pan Qingqing gave up resisting and was about to admit defeat, but Emperor Yi didn't want her to admit defeat. Otherwise, how could he buy time? Boom! Suddenly the tune changed. The momentum was grand, and the scene before everyone's eyes became magnificent. It made people's blood boil, and their battle intent soared to the sky. Pan Qingqing's battle intent rose again. She brandished her giant axe and hacked at Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi looked at Pan Qingqing's moves, looking for her fatal weakness. He slowed down his attacks and forced her to improve. Now, Pan Qingqing couldn't admit defeat even if she wanted to. Everything was under Emperor Ye's control. Pan Qingqing constantly changed her moves, but Ren Huangyi would still quickly find the fatal flaws in her move. Every time she made a move, Ren Huangyi would always make her feel that her axe technique could be improved by another step. The speed of her attack, the trajectory of her divine power, and the angle at which she exerted her strength were all in accordance with Ren Huangyi's rules. Her power increased explosively. Coiling Tiger stared at the battlefield and realized Emperor Ye's intention. However, in the eyes of outsiders, Emperor Yi seemed to be helping Pan Qingqing. This kind of good thing wasn't available to just anyone, unless the two sides were allies. Many divine sons looked at Coiling Tiger with unkind expressions. Coiling Tiger had a clear conscience and didn't care about others' attitude. He snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. Pan Qingqing's improvement was a good thing. It was better than being toyed with by Emperor Yi. As time passed, Pan Qingqing performed all 36 forms once. Her moves were refined, and her battle strength increased by several times. However, she still couldn't stop because Emperor Yi wouldn't allow her to. With no other choice, Pan Qingqing could only continue to attack. She practiced the 36 forms axe technique several times, becoming more and more proficient and refined with each repetition. After 5 repetitions, Pan Qingqing's battle prowess had increased by at least 2 to 3 times. Although she still couldn't be compared to a top-notch Saint Son, it was enough to defeat an ordinary king tier. This battle took the most time, and the situation was under Emperor Ye's control. After delaying for an hour, Emperor Yi felt that everything was fine. He stopped playing the zither and calmly looked at Pan Qingqing. Pan Qingqing looked at Emperor Yi with gratitude. She put away her axe and respectfully said, "Many thanks for Miss Emperor Ye's guidance. Qingqing is greatly moved and will definitely practice diligently when I return." Emperor Yi smiled and nodded slightly. He said in a crisp voice, "Congratulations on Dao Friend's improvement. This is just a small token of my appreciation. It's not worth mentioning." Not only did he delay for time, he also gave the Pan clan a benefit, and he also dispersed everyone's hostility. Emperor Yi had killed 3 birds with 1 stone. This step was extremely ingenious. Pan Qingqing looked at Emperor Yi with gratitude and quickly bowed. Qingqing concedes. After this battle ended, the two withdrew from the barrier. The next battle was Jiang Jingtian's turn. After that, it was Yi Qinghan's turn against the powerful Saint Child. Jiang Jingtian looked at Yi Qinghan's face that was gradually regaining its color. He asked in a low voice, "How long do you need to delay?" Yi Qinghan opened his eyes and let out a mouthful of turbid air as he said, 2 incense sticks of time. I can recover 70% of my strength. My next opponent is the Black Tortoise Saint Child. Its defense is strong, but its attack is weak. I can deal with it with 70% of my strength. Chapter 1133. Jiang Jingtian's opponents were not too strong. The most unlucky one was Yi Qinghan, who had taken on almost all the experts by himself. If Jiang Jingtian were to fight all 36 matches, he would be exhausted to death. Within the arena's enchantment, Jiang Jingtian fought for the time it took for 2 incense sticks to burn. His sword pierced through the expert's left shoulder, but he did not kill him. He was giving the opponent enough face. If the opponent did not accept this, then there would not be so many benefits for them the next time they met. The next battle was between Yi Qinghan and the Black Tortoise Saint Sun. The Black Tortoise Saint Sun's tortoise shell was much harder to break than a supreme-level defensive armor. Moreover, his Black Tortoise divine power was extremely viscous. When powerful attacks landed on his divine power, it was like punching a sponge, soft and powerless. Even if he were to lie down and let the elite kings beat him up, he would not be injured. However, the heavens were fair. The Black Tortoise Saint Sun's attack power was similar to that of an ordinary king. At most, it would be slightly stronger. He relied on stalling for time and exhausting his opponent to death. Yi Qinghan's attack power was unparalleled in the world. Against this Black Tortoise Saint Sun, no one knew whether Yi Qinghan's spear was sharper or the Black Tortoise's shield was stronger. Only by fighting would they know. Yi Qinghan's flaming battle robe fluttered in the wind. He stepped into the enchantment and stared at the Black Tortoise Saint Sun. Seeing his arrogant appearance, he was also calculating in his heart how to break through the Black Tortoise Saint Sun's defense with the least amount of effort. As long as it is a living creature, it will have a weakness. Where is this Black Tortoise Saint Sun's weakness? Yi Qinghan stared straight at the Black Tortoise Saint Sun as if he could see through his essence. His stare made the Black Tortoise Saint Sun's hair stand. The Black Tortoise Saint Sun frowned. His goal was only to exhaust Yi Qinghan and make him admit defeat. There was no need for him to exhaust himself, so he took the initiative to attack. Boom! A blunt sword appeared in the Black Tortoise Saint's hand. He slashed at the air, forcing Yi Qinghan to defend himself. Yi Qinghan's speed was extremely fast. With just a tap of his foot, he left his original spot and hid behind the Black Tortoise Holy Sun. He continued to observe his weakness, but he discovered that when the Black Tortoise Holy Sun attacked, his entire body was covered with sticky defensive divine power. He estimated that his divine power would not be able to cause any wave. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan suddenly pulled out Violent Strike and directly attacked the left side of the Black Tortoise's waist. However, when the Violent Strike was 1 meter away from him, It couldn't move an inch forward and couldn't attack his body. He knew that it was impossible to fight the Black Tortoise Saint Child head-on. Phew! As long as it isn't a supreme god, no one can break through my defenses. Admit defeat. The Black Tortoise Saint Child turned around and attacked Yi Qinghan again. He pressed on step by step, not giving him any time to rest. Yi Qinghan could only dodge and reduce his energy consumption. He looked around, looking for a flaw. As time passed, he gradually discovered that the sticky defensive divine power on the surface of the Black Tortoise Saint Child's body was actually circulating without any consumption. It was as if it was a natural defense. He couldn't help but be shocked. Isn't this guy invincible? Who can break through his defenses? Yi Qinghan was very shocked. He couldn't imagine how there could be such a perfect defense in the world. Can you penetrate the energy outside his body? Yi Qinghan pulled out the divine bird and the little miser. He frowned and said, as long as you can penetrate his external energy and attack him from the inside, his defensive energy won't circulate. You just need to delay him for 2 breaths of time. The divine bird and the little miser looked at each other and charged at the Black Tortoise Saint Child from 2 sides. Yi Qinghan attacked from the front and resisted the Black Tortoise, buying time for the divine bird. Whoosh! The little miser and the divine bird didn't waste much energy and directly drilled into the sticky defensive energy. The divine bird immediately spat out a huge fire at the Black Tortoise Saint Child. Roar! Ah! The Black Tortoise Saint Child screamed and ran away, holding his head. He waved his hand to catch the divine bird and the little miser. The circulating defensive energy on the surface of his body suddenly weakened a lot. Yi Qinghan seized the opportunity and punched the Black Tortoise Saint Child's head. Boom, boom, boom. The fists fell like raindrops. The divine bird kept spitting out fire from the inside. It was a Lord God-level divine fire, after all. It burned the Black Tortoise Saint Child's face until it was black. The smell of barbecued meat wafted out. The defensive energy instantly disappeared. The Black Tortoise Saint Child couldn't maintain the defensive energy and could only use all his strength to kill the divine bird. However, the moment the defensive energy swept past him, he was directly sent flying by a punch. Before he could react, the second punch landed on his chest. Bang, bang, bang! Yi Qinghan's fists contained a scary power. They could crush the bodies of holy beasts. Although the Black Tortoise Saint Child's defenses were very strong, Yi Qinghan's punches made his blood flow stagnate. He was unable to use his defensive energy. The divine bird and the little miser took the opportunity to escape. Yi Qinghan took the opportunity to take control of the situation. Bang! Boom! Boom! Yi Qinghan wished he could grow a few more fists and a few more pairs of legs. He punched and kicked the Black Tortoise Saint Child until he held his head and screamed. He revealed his black tortoise body. A giant tortoise shell appeared in front of him, and his head retreated back into his body. Yi Qinghan grunted and punched the tortoise shell. The Black Tortoise Saint Child, who was inside, was dizzy. The little gold raven spat out a giant god-level divine fire into the tortoise shell. The temperature was so hot that it almost cooked the Black Tortoise Saint Child. Big Baron break world! Yi Qinghan kicked the tortoise shell away. The Black Tortoise Saint Child's abdomen was exposed. Yi Qinghan waved his fist and pulled it back. He twisted his body and punched the Saint Child's abdomen. Catcha! No matter how strong the tortoise's defense was, its weakest part could not block Yi Qinghan's scariest attack. That attack contained 70% of his power, and it was almost pouring out. The Black Tortoise Saint Child's abdomen was broken. His body was like a cannonball hitting the bicema. The bicema collapsed. The Black Tortoise Saint Child rolled a few thousand times outside Blue Sky City before coming to a stop. Yi Qinghan quickly chased after him. I'll let you be arrogant. Yi Qinghan grabbed the tortoise shell and danced in the sky. He kept smashing it into the ground and mountain rocks. The black tortoise saint-child was dizzy. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The black tortoise was spun around by Yi Qinghan. It spun a few thousand times in an instant. Even a god's brain could not help but spin like that. I'm not a supreme god, but I can still break your defense. Don't shrink back if you have the guts. Yi Qinghan was unforgiving this time. He was extremely barbaric. He would occasionally kick the black tortoise saint-child inside the tortoise shell. He wanted nothing more than to jump in and beat him up. The black tortoise saint-child hid in the tortoise shell and did not dare to poke his head out. He was dizzy from being spun around and even had symptoms of vomiting. He could only shout and admit defeat. Yi Qinghan groaned and sent him flying with a kick, announcing the end of the battle. Everyone outside Blue Sky City was dumbfounded. The black tortoise saint-child's powerful defense had actually been defeated by two little parrots. How did those two birds break through the black tortoise saint-child's defense? That's the devouring spirit parrot. This thing is extremely rare. It's a creature from the eternal cloud sky. There were some in the primal chaos era, but they gradually became rare. Everyone discussed spiritedly and revealed the origin of the divine bird. Kakik, no barrier can stop this divine bird. You dare to be arrogant in front of me? I'll burn you to death. The divine bird arrogantly watched the black tortoise saint-child crawl out of the tortoise shell. It was incomparably cocky. The black tortoise saint-child no longer had the dignity of a saint-child. His head was broken and bleeding, revealing his human body. His eyeballs did not have the slightest bit of cohesion and were very scattered. It was obvious that he had been dizzy from being spun around by Yi Qinghan. Chapter 1134. The Black Tortoise Saint's Sun Turned Pale. No one had expected this. If it weren't for his abnormal physical defense, he would have been hammered to death by Yi Qinghan. This battle consumed the least amount of divine power. Of course, it was all thanks to the divine bird. This guy had caught the black tortoise Saint Sun off guard. Otherwise, Yi Qinghan wouldn't have been able to break through the energy shield even if he fought for a year. Yi Qinghan immediately returned to his base to rest and recover his divine power. However, the war was still going on. All the major bases were in a frenzy, especially when the various sacred grounds were attacking the Azure Dragon clan in revenge. This caused the Saint Child of the Azure Dragon clan to retaliate. Every side suffered losses, and even the Pan clan was implicated. Coiling Tiger was furious. The Sorcerer Tribe's Divine Son and a top king of the Demon God Mountain were all killed. The other sacred lands suffered even more. As the revenge continued, the points of all sides were about the same. They all obtained about 30 points. The Kuang sect temporarily obtained 26 points. Almost everyone obtained 1 or 2 points. Yi Qinghan obtained 3 points, but these 3 points were the most difficult to obtain. After 6 hours, more than 100 battles had been fought. More than 20 people died and 15 were heavily injured. Xianyuan Lu from the Kuang sect was heavily injured. Medusa almost lost her ability to fight. Qitian Monkey King and Xia Ziluo suffered light injuries. Yi Qinghan automatically admitted defeat. Emoli lost a point. However, the Demon God Mountain also gave the Kuang sect 1 point. Only then did the cooperation officially begin. 6 hours later, Yi Qinghan finally recovered and returned to his peak state. He opened his eyes and looked at the tragic situation with a dignified expression. The insane sect had the least points. All 18 of them were either tired or injured. It would be difficult for them to recover in a short period of time. It would be very difficult for them to get more than 100 points. Next battle, Yi Kuan from the Demon God Mountain vs. Wu Zufeng from the Sorcerer Tribe. With the announcement of the Sacred Leader, another battle was about to break out. Everyone knew that the Sorcerer Tribe and the Demon God Mountain hated each other. For such a huge benefit, it would be strange if they didn't fight. Yi Qinghan perked up, wanting to see how powerful Yi Kun was now. He couldn't help but sit up straight. Yi Kun exuded an evil aura, and the viciousness in his eyes was fundamentally different from the playboy he had been in the past. In the past, people had looked at him with contempt, but now, looking at his ferocious face again, let alone ordinary people, even King Tears felt uneasy and fearful. Wu Zufeng was the divine son of the sorcerer tribe, so his cultivation was naturally not weak. Looking at Yi Kun's evil eyes, he was very vigilant. "I'll send you to Ancestor Sorcerer. Send my regards," Yi Kun said to Ancestor Sorcerer as he looked down at him. His ruthless gaze sent chills down one's spine. The corner of Wu Zufeng's mouth twitched and he sneered, "You're just a servant, yet you dare to shout at this god's son. This seat will send you to see the great demon god today." The two great experts opposed each other with equal harshness. They both revealed killing intent as soon as they met, so it would be difficult for them to settle this peacefully. Yi Qinghan frowned. He didn't expect Yi Kun to become so savage and lose his nature. It seemed like the Dark Night demon god's inheritance had changed his nature. Did Yi Kun attack just now? Yi Qinghan stood up and looked at Gu Qingyu, asking in a deep voice. Gu Qingyu's face was also filled with worry and he sighed. Yes, he attacked. He was very strong, and his attacks were sure to kill. Moreover, he was exceptionally cruel, directly killing his opponents and absorbing their blood essence and life source to increase his own strength. He attacked a total of 10 times, but none of his opponents survived. All of them were dried corpses. He has already caused many powers to be dissatisfied with him, causing the demon god mountain to face the common enemy of the other holy lands. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists, thinking to himself, "Indeed, it's about the same as what I thought. Wherever he goes, he'll cause trouble. No matter how strong his cultivation is, his nature is still to cause trouble." The two brothers were both calamities, causing trouble wherever they went. Nothing good happened. However, Yi Qinghan would always solve the problem after he was done, while Yi Kun would cause trouble everywhere. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and looked inside the barrier. The two had already erupted. Demonic chi soared to the sky, covering space and time. Outside, only two afterimages could be seen fighting. Only they knew the danger inside. The sorcerer divine force was vast and mighty, suppressing the demonic chi. The two were very strong. Wu Zufeng should be comparable to Wu Zulong in terms of fighting strength. They were both top-notch divine sons, so there wasn't much difference. However, Yi Qinghan discovered that Yi Kun actually had the upper hand. Yi Kun's attacks were extremely ruthless, and barbaric. It was almost the same as Yi Qinghan's style, but he was a bit more bizarre. Whoosh! Yi Kun's 10 fingers were black and as sharp as a wolf's claws. He tore through the void and grabbed at Wu Zufeng. The second sorcerer god frowned. This was the second time Yi Kun had fought a divine son of the sorcerer tribe. The first divine son's cultivation was a bit weak, so Yi Kun drained his chi and blood. He died miserably. This caused the second sorcerer god to be unable to suppress his anger towards Yi Kun and demon god mountain. You're courting death. Do you really think this competition is uncontrollable? If I want you dead, you won't live to see tomorrow. The second sorcerer god snorted and reached out to summon the competition list. He looked through it and found that Yi Kun's next opponent was Li Feng from the Insane Sect. Next up was Emperor Xianyuan from the Xianyuan Heavenly Emperor's family. No matter how strong Li Feng was, he was not a top-notch divine son, especially someone like Emperor Xianyuan. Therefore, the second sorcerer god found Xianyuan's Saint Lord and offered him a supreme sacred medicine to take Yi Kun's life. A disciple from the Xianyuan bloodline was also killed by Yi Kun. Emperor Xianyuan Qing wanted to kill Yi Kun, so he naturally agreed without hesitation. Bang! At this moment, the scene inside the barrier suddenly changed. Yi Kun turned into a cloud of black fog and suddenly appeared behind Wu Zufeng. He punched him in the back, causing Wu Zufeng to cough up blood on the spot. Wu Zufeng crashed into the barrier, and the barrier was dyed red with blood. His face looked extremely terrifying. However, before he could admit defeat, Yi Kun pierced through his body from behind and grabbed his heart. His left hand locked onto Wu Zufeng's throat, not allowing him to speak. Close combat. Yi Kun was taught by Yi Qinghan. Perhaps he did not have much combat strength in the past, but that kind of close combat experience had long been ingrained in his bones. Wu Zufeng screamed, but he could not make a sound. He was hoarse. His 10 fingers grabbed the barrier and struggled desperately, but the vitality in his body was quickly devoured by Yi Kun. Everyone's hair stood on end. They felt that Yi Kun was not a human, but a real demon. He took pleasure in devouring people's vitality. Even Emoli felt that Yi Kun was a bit too much. He was even crazier than the Dark Knight demon god. Although the demon god mountain had the word demon in its name, it was still a human after all. It would not break away from human nature, but Yi Kun was a bit out of line. Yi Qinghan's eyes shot out 2 flames as he stared at Yi Kun in the barrier. He really wanted to correct his perverted and twisted heart. Soon, Wu Zufeng's body dried up as if he had been dead for tens of thousands of years. Only skin and bones were left. His wrinkled skin made him look extremely old, while Yi Kun's strength increased by 30%. Yi Qinghan looked down at the battle list. After 3 battles, it was Li Feng against Yi Kun. Moreover, Li Feng was injured and had no time to recover. It would be very dangerous for him to face Yi Kun. Do you think he will still be ruthless against Guangzhong? Gu Qingyu asked in a hoarse voice. He could not see through Yi Kun. Yi Qinghan shook his head. He could not give a definite answer. Yi Kun had changed too much. If it was not for the blood and soul connection between the brothers, he would even suspect that Yi Kun was already dead and that the soul in his body was the Dark Knight demon god. Chapter 1135. Wu Zufeng was dead, and his death was tragic. Yi Kun, on the other hand, was smiling coldly. This kind of inhumane and powerful person was the most frightening. No one dared to control him 100%. Yi Qinghan couldn't do it, and Emoli, the inheritor of the great demonic god, couldn't do it either. Yi Qinghan was silent for a long time, only waking up after the next battle. He found Li Feng and said with a hoarse voice, "Brother Li Feng, do you have the confidence to deal with Yi Kun?" Li Feng was still recovering from his injuries. He had already obtained 4 points for the insane sect, surpassing Yi Qinghan. It would be difficult for him to win against an existence like Yi Kun. Therefore, he shook his head and said, "I don't know. His martial arts are very strange, violent, and tyrannical. It's possible for him to win or lose." Yi Qinghan thought about it and said in a low voice, "Test him a little. If you can't do it, then give up. Don't drag it out with him. I'm worried that he will kill our brothers and sisters." Li Feng nodded and continued to heal his injuries. Yi Qinghan continued to watch the battles, looking at the main characters of the various forces. He noticed that there were a few Dark Horse elites. Although they weren't divine sons or daughters, their cultivation surpassed most of the divine sons and daughters. They were close to the peak divine sons and daughters. Qiu Yaojie, a peak divine rank existence and an elite of the Pan clan's subsidiary family. He had obtained 6 points for the Pan clan and won 6 battles with a 100% win rate. Young Master Wen, an elite of the Karma Sacred Ground's subsidiary power. His cultivation surpassed Ji Tian's and became the leader of the Karma Sacred Ground. He had won 6 battles and lost 1. Moreover, he had met Emoli and admitted defeat. Clearly, it wasn't that he couldn't fight, but that he wanted to preserve his strength. If it weren't for young Master One, the karma sacred ground would have been eliminated long ago. This person's cultivation was indeed extraordinary. Even Emperor Yi was full of praise for him. Now, he was being nurtured by the karma sacred ground. Our total score is 126 points. What's our ranking? Yi Qinghan asked. Medusa was counting and immediately replied, We are ranked 9th, so the gap between us isn't that big. The demonic god mountain has the highest score of 150 points. Next is the time and space paramount Holy Land. They have teamed up with the eliminated primal chaos Holy Land. The two Holy Lands have teamed up with each other, and they are only 1 point behind the demonic god mountain. Moreover, they are showing signs of overtaking them. Logically speaking, they should be first. Third is the alliance between the Pan clan and the Nine Heavens Mystic Fairy Holy Land with 150 points. Fourth is the alliance between the Wu tribe and the Sky Demon region with 148 points. Fifth is the Wind God Holy Land. The sixth is the Xianyuan faction, the seventh is the Black Tortoise Holy Ground, and the eighth is the Vermilion Bird Holy Ground. Ninth. Yi Qinghan clenched his fist. There were only 13 entrances. If they were to fall out of the top 13, they would lose all hope. The 9th place was very dangerous. In the later stages, there would definitely be sacred grounds who would join forces with other sacred grounds in desperation, excluding the insane sect. Make it to the top 6. Yi Qinghan's gaze was firm. Only by making it to the top 6 would they be able to retain their right to enter. Otherwise, they would have to go to war with other sacred grounds. If they didn't fight for the entrance, the insane sect's position would plummet in 300 to 500 years. Soon, Yi Qinghan found Mo Li, hoping that they could work together and that Yi Kuan would concede. While Mo Li was hesitating, Yi Qinghan spoke. Concede? I won't concede. Aren't you very strong? Aren't your brothers very strong? You can fight me. The word concede does not exist in my dictionary. This is what you taught me. Don't forget it. Yi Kuan said coldly. Do you have to go against me? Yi Qinghan glared at Yi Kuan. He couldn't wait to beat him up. Yi Kuan took a step back and immediately stopped. His expression was extremely angry. No matter how strong he became, he was still afraid of Yi Qinghan. No matter how strong he pretended to be, if he really fought with Yi Qinghan, he would still be afraid. You can't say that I'm going against you. I only live according to my heart. In my world, there is only defeat. There is no conceding. In the next round, tell Li Feng to be careful. In order to hide the panic in his heart, Yi Kuan raised the corner of his mouth. He was extremely arrogant. Yi Qinghan bit his lower lip and stared at Yi Kuan with his deep eyes. When he saw that Yi Kuan was glaring back at him, he could only warn him sternly, Don't provoke me. You can play however you want. If you dare to provoke me, I will break your legs and cripple your cultivation. Yi Qinghan flicked his sleeves and left. However, he did not expect that his last warning had angered him. His evil aura shot out and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He stared at Yi Qinghan's back and wanted to vent his anger on Li Feng. After more than 20 breaths, the battle in the barrier ended. It was Li Feng and Yi Kuan's turn to fight. Both of them went up with anger. Li Feng, I will kill you. Yi Kuan sneered and said cruelly. Li Feng only maintained 60% of his combat strength at the moment. The wound on his chest was still bleeding. He really did not have the ability to fight against Yi Kuan. Even if he was at his peak, he might not win. However, Guangzong had 2 more rounds to face Yi Kuan. If he did not severely injure him, it would be difficult for Guangzong to advance. My strength can only injure him. However, I will lose my ability to resist. So, I must choose to concede before he attacks. After some thought, Li Feng decided to injure Yi Kuan as soon as he attacked. He could not delay any longer. However, Yi Kuan was even more aggressive. He did not give him any time to think. Yi Kuan's body emitted violent dark elemental energy and covered the entire barrier. Whoosh! Yi Kuan stomped his feet and the ground shook violently. His body rushed toward Li Feng like a sword. Whoosh! 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 There were figures everywhere. Powerful and violent qi filled the area. Yi Kuan's body moved in a tricky arc and his iron fist punched toward Li Feng's head. Li Feng did not choose to dodge. Instead, he closed his eyes and held the reincarnation divine sword with both hands. His body was in an attacking posture. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He did not expect Li Feng to give up defense in order to injure Yi Kuan. He quickly shouted, "Li Feng, don't fight like this. You will die." Whoosh! Li Feng did not listen to Yi Qinghan's orders. The moment Yi Kuan approached, he did not dodge or defend. Instead, he drew his sword and slashed at Yi Kuan's waist. However, Yi Kuan's reaction speed was definitely comparable to Yi Qinghan's. His lower body rose vertically. The giant god's sword slashed at his abdomen, slicing through space. His fist turned into a claw and pierced through the void, grabbing at Li Feng's wound. Poochie! The qi hit Li Feng's wound and blood spurted out. However, Li Feng's reaction speed was even faster. His sword was incomparably fast. He flipped his hand and the divine sword pierced through Yi Kuan's left shoulder. Bang! The moment Yi Kuan was pierced, his sharp claws pierced through Li Feng's body. He was just one step faster. Both sides were injured. Yi Kuan was instantly enraged after being severely injured. He forcefully grabbed the divine sword and pulled it out. After landing, he ignored his injuries and sent Li Feng flying. He threw a punch at Li Feng's chest. "I admit defeat." Li Feng endured his injuries in midair and admitted defeat with a low growl. Poochie! Li Feng's heart was almost pierced through. He fell heavily to the ground. "I said I will kill you." Yi Kuan's leg cracked the ground and sent Li Feng's body into the air. He swept his leg across the air and sent Li Feng flying thousands of meters. He crashed into the barrier and fainted on the spot. Yi Qinghan was furious. He roared, "Open the barrier!" Chapter 1136. Shu! Yi Qinghan crushed the ground and rushed towards the enchantment. All the Saint Lords wanted to kill Yi Qinghan, so they did not hesitate to remove the enchantment. Boom! Yi Qinghan shattered the space with a punch and appeared behind Yi Kuan. In order to protect himself, Yi Kuan had to give up on killing Li Feng. He used his elbow to attack Yi Qinghan's fist. Bang! Crack! Boom! 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 Yi Kuan's hardest elbow was broken by Yi Qinghan's punch. Yi Kuan's body was pushed back hundreds of meters, creating deep pits in the ground. "I'm going to kill you today, you bastard!" Yi Qinghan was furious. He swept his leg and kicked continuously in the air, shattering half the sky. Boom! Yi Kuan crossed his arms to block, but he was kicked by Yi Qinghan. His arms hit his chest and his injuries worsened. His expression changed as he tried to escape. Shoo! Jiang Jingtian rushed over from afar and took the unconscious Li Feng away. Bang! 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 Boom! Boom! Yi Qinghan violently raised his fist and punched Yi Kuan. He kicked his legs high, barbaric and overbearing. Every attack contained a terrifying power. Yi Kuan was already injured, so he was hit until blood splattered everywhere. Desolate world-breaking power. Boom! 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 Yi Qinghan pulled his body back and punched out with flames. He used all of his strength and clearly wanted to kill Yi Kuan. There was no need to keep such a brother alive. He would not be influenced at all. Sooner or later, he would ruin everything. Yi Kuan's pupils shrank. There was no way to escape. If he took it head-on, he would definitely be severely injured. At this moment, Emoli obviously would not let his people be injured. He had no choice but to attack. His body flashed and appeared in front of Yi Kuan. He formed a seal with both of his palms, and the great demon god Tao Physique exploded. His aura soared into the sky, and the demonic chi transformed into a huge golden body. Boom, crack, crack. The sound of space shattering rang out incessantly. Following that, cracks appeared in the space, and a black hole vortex appeared. The two attacks collided together. Chi soared into the Milky Way, and flames spewed out for thousands of miles as they rushed towards the sky. Yi Qinghan was truly enraged. His punch was almost beyond his usual level, and the explosive power of the punch reached its limit. Mo Li's great demonic celestial Tao body was almost destroyed, and his physical body could not withstand the attack. He crashed into Yi Qinghan's body and was sent flying 1,000 meters away. Pfff. Mo Li coughed up blood. The eruption of power was too sudden, causing his qi and blood to stagnate. Coupled with Yi Qinghan's attack, he immediately started crying blood. Scram! Yi Qinghan was burning with rage as he crushed the ground with his leg. His figure was like a rainbow as he kicked both of his legs in the air. One of his legs kicked horizontally at Yi Kuan while the other at Mo Li. Boom! Boom! Mo Li waved his hand to block, while Yi Qinghan joined forces to attack. However, they were all pushed back by the power of Yi Qinghan's leg. Bang! Yi Qinghan swept through the air and sent a kick at Mo Li's head. Mo Li raised his hand to block, but his arm was kicked out of shape and smashed into his own head. He lost control of his body and crashed into the ground. Yi Kuan took advantage of the situation to raise his knees and hit Yi Qinghan's left waist. Boom! Yi Qinghan lost control of his body and crashed into the ground along with Mo Li. However, his reaction was faster. He sent a palm strike to the ground and bounced up. He reached out to grab Yi Kuan, his eyes emitting a terrifying light as his killing intent soared to the sky. Yi Kuan was shocked by the anger in Yi Qinghan's eyes. This was the first time he had seen Yi Qinghan so angry. He did not have the confidence to continue fighting and kept retreating. He rushed to Mo Li's side and defended together. Yi Qinghan, what are you trying to do? This is a battle of life and death. What right do you have to interfere? Mo Li was enraged. He swallowed a drop of diluted demonic god's supreme godly power and stomped the ground, causing the entire blue sky city to collapse. Swoosh! 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 Everyone from the demonic god mountain surrounded Yi Kuan, followed by the people from the insane sect. The battle of the arena could erupt into a chaotic battle at any moment. I want to clean up the mess for the Yi family. Get out of my way. Yi Qinghan stared at Mo Li with a smirk. He had made up his mind to kill him. Impossible. If you want to fight, my demonic god mountain will accompany you to the end. I'm just afraid that your insane sect doesn't have the strength to back it up. Mo Li's aura exploded. His true battle strength began to show. The number one great demonic god Tao body did not have an undeserved reputation. Some people from the other holy lands were gloating, some were watching from the sidelines. There were also some who did not want this chaotic battle to disrupt the battle because they were in the lead. Although the second sorcerer god hoped that Yi Qinghan would fight with the people from the demonic god mountain, he did not wish for it to happen now. He exchanged a glance with the serpent god and rushed over together. They pulled back Yi Qinghan, hoping that his anger would be appeased. However, Yi Qinghan was already enraged. He wanted to rush over again but was stopped by the second sorcerer god. Yi Qinghan, calm down. Yi Kuan was in the wrong in this battle. However, you have already fought and scolded him. It's time for the next battle to begin. The second sorcerer god said with a frown. Get out of my way. My side has already admitted defeat and he still attacked. I have the right to attack. Yi Qinghan did not want to give face to anyone. He wanted to rush over and teach Mo Li a lesson as well. The serpent god's veins bulged as he hugged Yi Qinghan from behind. He held him down tightly, not allowing him to rush over. Emoli's prestige was swept to the ground. He had been knocked down twice by Yi Qinghan. Now, he was covered in dust and dirt, but he was also furious. He wanted to rush over and fight with Yi Qinghan. The people from both sides were at each other's throat. A chaotic battle could break out at any moment. The Saint Lords from the Great Saint Lands who were ranked closest to each other stepped forward to stop the fight, separating the experts from both sides. Yi Kuan's breathing quickened as he looked at Yi Qinghan, who was flying into a rage. He was filled with hatred, resentment, and fear. He was extremely conflicted. The serpent god was such a ferocious beast, yet he almost couldn't suppress Yi Qinghan's physical body. It took him a lot of effort to pull him back to his side. The outside of Blue Sky City fell into silence once again. No one said a word, and no one dared to stir up trouble. A chaotic battle now won't do us any good. Could it be that the entry rights to the Wangu Yuntian have been delayed again? Moreover, if you fight with Emoli now, both sides will suffer. Others will take advantage of you. This isn't your style, the second sorcerer god said with a frown. Humph. Yi Qinghan smashed the chair with his palm. He looked coldly at Yi Kuan in the distance. He was still unable to calm down. Bastard! Yi Qinghan roared and said sternly, "The battle will be suspended for a day. If you think it's inappropriate, you can ask the Demon God Mountain." Back then, it was agreed that the battle would be stopped once one side admitted defeat. Because of the Demon God Mountain's reckless behavior, it's not too much to ask for a day's suspension. After saying that, Yi Qinghan left with his group. Emoli's mouth twitched. He was almost angered to death by Yi Qinghan and his brother. One was causing trouble, and the other was looking for trouble. He was the unlucky one, and the one who got beaten up was him. Emoli looked coldly at Yi Kuan. This guy had made so many enemies for the Demon God Mountain. Now, he had even made their partners stand against each other. He couldn't help but ask angrily, "What are you thinking? I don't understand. I can understand offending so many great saint lands, but why do you have to offend the arrogant sect as well? He's not only our temporary partner, but Yi Qinghan is also your brother. Give me a reason. The winner is king, and the loser is a bandit. Why wouldn't I kill him if I won? Moreover, Yi Qinghan actually killed me in front of everyone for the sake of the arrogant sect. Is he treating me as his brother?" Yi Kuan raised his eyebrows and asked. Emoli was so angry that his brain couldn't think straight. He was rendered speechless by Yi Kuan's words. "Ai." Emoli sighed and could only turn around and leave. Chapter 1137. Outside Blue Sky City, the heroes parted unhappily. In an inn, the atmosphere in the insane sect was stifling as they looked at Li Feng lying on the bed. His vitality had dissipated and his injuries were severe. One day was obviously not enough for him to recover his battle strength. Yi Qinghan's face was filled with helplessness. With Li Feng's battle strength gone, the pressure on the others was much greater. In the later stages, they would need to win 100% of their matches to get into the top 13. Jiang Jingtian, Ren Huangyi, Gu Qingyu, and Di Longtian all had 8 matches that they had yet to complete. Nangong Yunlan also had 7 matches. If they won all of them, they would have 39 points. However, it was obviously impossible for them to win all of them because their opponents were all top-notch saints. If they won 1 point against them, they would lose several points later on. We will lose for sure unless we get all the points from now on. Only then can we make up for the matches that Li Feng gave up. Medusa calculated and said pessimistically. The experts of the insane sect and the Supreme Saint Lands gathered expressionlessly. They did not expect this battle to be so difficult. I still have 31 matches, so I have a total of 31 points. You guys have 39 points, so the others have 28 points. Yi Qinghan calculated. If they won all of them, they would have 98 points. In addition to the 126 points they had before, they would have a total of 224 points. Only then would they be able to get into the top 13. You can't lose more than 10 points to get the right to enter the Wangu Yuntian. Medusa added. Yi Qinghan frowned. They could not lose more than 10 matches. This required careful calculation. According to the ranking of the matches, the experts would severely injure the opponent of the insane sect in the next match, causing him to temporarily lose his battle strength and automatically give up the match against the insane sect. Next is my battlefield. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed fiercely as he said, I will cripple the saints of the various saint lands. When you attack, you must injure them severely. Don't hold back. Don't let them have a chance to attack the others. Nangong Yunlan and the others frowned and asked in a low voice, Are you sure? You will be severely injured. Foundation? Who doesn't have some? The corners of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled up. He was ready to mobilize the great wasteland's steel to fight and cripple the saint so that Jiang Jingtian and the others could go all out and suppress the other sacred grounds. Jiang Jingtian and company knew that Yi Qinghan had the Great Wasteland's monument, but they also knew that the Great Wasteland's monument was not very obedient. Yi Qinghan was not strong enough to use it, and it would consume a lot of energy. Yi Qinghan returned to his room and sat cross-legged on the edge of his bed. He formed a seal with his palms, and the mark on his forehead rushed out. The Great Wasteland's tablet appeared. He bitterly cultivated the Great Wasteland's tablet's secret technique, hoping to strengthen his communication with the Great Wasteland's tablet and use it in battle. That night, the various forces were making careful calculations. Everyone wanted to obtain the entrance and exclude the other forces. The second sorcerer god squinted his eyes and carefully looked at the ranking list. The serpent did not feel much pressure. It's not a problem for us to win an entrance, but I don't want the insane sect to get the entrance. The second sorcerer god went straight to the point. The serpent was stunned and immediately asked, Why? Yi Qinghan is too strong, and that's not a good thing. They also have the entrance to the Wangu Cloud Sky, and they have the familiar black dragon in the Wangu Cloud Sky Great World. Their improvement speed will be much faster than our sorcerer god mountains. At most, the insane sect will become the leader in 1,000 years. The sorcerer race and demon god mountain will have to give way. This is not what I want to see. The second sorcerer god said coldly. The insane sect's chances of getting the entrance are not high. As long as we inform the other sacred grounds, the insane sect will be eliminated immediately. The serpent looked at the ranking list and saw that Li Feng still had many matches to fight. He would definitely be eliminated. No matter how strong the others were, they would not be able to make up for it. The second sorcerer god thought for a moment and said in a low voice, As long as we severely injure Di Longtian, Jiang Jingtian, Gu Qingyu or Nangong Yunlan, the insane sect will definitely lose. The second sorcerer god did not think that anyone could severely injure Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan. They were too strong, ridiculously strong. The second sorcerer god took out the insane sect's battle list and found that Gu Qingyu and Coiling Tiger were at the top of the list. Feng Qingshan against Jiang Jingtian, and Nangong Yunlan against Ji Wuhan. However, Coiling Tiger, Feng Qingshan, and Ji Wuhan all had to face Yi Qinghan in the first match. Soon, the second sorcerer god left the sorcerer race's inn and went to the other sacred grounds to discuss. In the inn where the insane sect was located, Yi Qinghan's body emitted a desolate golden light. The Great Wasteland's tablet appeared in front of him and shrouded his golden body with runes flashing. Yi Qinghan frowned and waved his hand to control the Great Wasteland's tablet. It was as if the Great Wasteland's tablet could suppress the universe with a single thought. However, he did not have the strength to make the Great Wasteland's tablet transform into a stone tablet that could cover the sky. This was the legendary Over-God artifact. Yi Qinghan sighed inwardly. Unfortunately, he could not use even 1/10,000th of its power. If I can turn the Great Wastelands tablet into a defensive armor, I don't think anyone can break through my defense, right? Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. With a slight movement of his mind, he sensed the runes on the Great Wastelands tablet. Swish, the Great Wastelands tablet was actually transforming. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a desolate-colored soft garment. However, some parts of it still looked like a stone tablet. It was very prominent and could not be worn. My mental strength is not enough. Yi Qinghan was excited. He merged with the little chaos beast, the divine bird, the little miser, the god-slaying eagle, the multicolored snake, and the little golden crow. His soul was instantly strengthened by several times. The Great Wastelands tablet moved according to his will, and a perfect set of Great Wastelands divine clothing appeared on his body. The runes emitted from it could block any expert's attack. Light flowed and the divine light soared into the sky. It was too dazzling. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and withdrew the energy fluctuations from his body. The Great Wastelands tablet turned into a very ordinary garment. It was like a hemp garment and did not have the slightest bit of divine power. Ha ha! I don't need to defend. If I attack with my full strength, no one can withstand it, right? Yi Qinghan laughed. A ruthless light flashed in his eyes. He clenched his fists and calculated how he would explode tomorrow. Only then would he not let others suspect that he won because of the Over-God clothing. Otherwise, if he angered the other Holy Lands, those Over-God weapons would come at him together. He would not be able to withstand it. As long as I conceal it well, who will know that I have an Over-God weapon? Yi Qinghan grinned and sneered. He slowly stood up from the edge of the bed and dispersed the control of his mind. The Great Wastelands divine clothing immediately returned to the Great Wastelands tablet state and hid in the imprint in his sea of consciousness. The next day was a rest day. No one went out. All the experts were holed up in the inn and bitterly cultivated to recover their peak strength. Yi Qinghan was the same. However, he was bitterly cultivating the Heaven Wastelands technique. He hoped that he could use the Heaven Wastelands technique to defeat the holy sons of the various holy lands and give the arrogant sect a chance to win. At this moment, although Li Feng had saved his life, he would not be able to fight again for the next 3 years. He was now lying in his room and recuperating. Xia Ziluo was taking care of him. Most of the arrogant sect members were bitterly cultivating in the hall. They were racing against time and did not want to waste any time. Chapter 1138. The day passed very quickly. The insane sect did not interact with anyone else, but the other holy lands had frequent contact. Everyone knew each other well and understood the existence of each other's foundation. It was easy for them to cooperate. The insane sect was alone and had to fight alone. They also had to face the second sorcerer god. On the morning of the third day, the insane sect left Xianyuan Lu and Yan Yunbei in the inn to take care of Li Feng. Everyone else went to the battlefield. Yi Qinghan had 9 battles today. The first was against Wu Zulong, the second was against Feng Qingshan, the third was against Coiling Tiger, the fourth was against Ji Wuhan, and the fifth was against Qing Emperor Xianyuan. Most of the people behind him were followers of various holy land. Their cultivations were extremely terrifying. None of them were easy to deal with, especially Feng Qingshan, Coiling Tiger, and Qing Emperor Xianyuan. These 3 had never fought against Yi Qinghan before and did not know him at all. Yi Qinghan didn't have the slightest bit of time to rest throughout the entire day. There were roughly 2 to 3 matches between the 9 matches. Yi Qinghan relaxed his mental state. He focused his attention on transforming the Great Wastelands steel into the Great Wastelands armor. He covered it with a layer of flaming divine robes. Not even the sacred lords would be able to discover that he was wearing an over-god robe, and an over-god artifact at that. However, this state consumed a lot of divine power. Yi Qinghan needed to be on high alert for an entire day. After these 9 battles, he would be exhausted. Yi Qinghan's gaze swept past the experts and discovered that their gazes were somewhat strange. Their eyes were filled with mockery and killing intent. Only Coiling Tiger's eyes had a strange fluctuation. His hands formed a strange seal, attacking his right hand with his left hand. However, his speed was extremely fast, and he returned to normal in the blink of an eye. What is he doing? Is he warning me by attacking my right hand with his left hand? Yi Qinghan frowned. He looked at Emperor Yi and found that she had also noticed Coiling Tiger's hand gesture. His left hand attacking his right hand seems to be warning us to be wary of our left hand. Is he referring to the sorcerer race on our left? Emperor Yi secretly asked. Yi Qinghan glanced at the second sorcerer and found that he was not observing the insane sect, nor did he mention anything about the alliance. He had probably given up on the insane sect because he could no longer control it. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath through his nostrils. He decided to give up on the Wizard Alliance and severely injure Wu Zulong first. Wu Zulong looked coldly at Yi Qinghan, as though he was looking forward to a battle with him. He naturally did not believe that a mortal like Yi Qinghan could defeat a divine son of the sorcerer race like him. I will use my strength to prove that I am not inferior to the Shaman Emperor. The second-generation ancestors' eyes must be wrong. I will take back the glory that belongs to me. The murderous aura in the arena gathered once again. The battle between the kings had begun when Yi Kuan had crippled Li Feng. It had developed into a battle of honor between individuals. No one could afford to lose. The battle on the arena was between the follower of the Pan clan, Qiu Yaojie, and Qin Wentian of the Devil God Mountain. Qiu Yaojie was indeed powerful. Even when facing one of the strongest physiques in the primal chaos era, the ethereal physique, he was still undefeated and could even attack. Qin Wentian's cultivation had grown too much. From a young age, he could shuttle through ordinary metal and wood. Now, he could shuttle through space. His traces were strange and his attacks were swift and fierce. He had cultivated the ethereal physique to the peak. His ethereal swordplay was hard to defend against. Yi Qinghan nodded repeatedly. He was very satisfied with Qin Wentian's growth. However, he was also very serious because he could not be sure which side Qin Wentian would stand on in the end. Whoosh! A sword hum broke Yi Qinghan's thoughts. A ray of sword light like a rainbow pierced through space. Qin Wentian suddenly appeared behind Qiu Yaojie. His posture was ethereal as he stepped on the void. His sword was placed on Qiu Yaojie's neck. Although Qiu Yaojie had predicted Qin Wentian's attack trajectory, it was not perfect. He stabbed his sword backward but missed, passing through 2 inches in front of Qin Wentian's abdomen. Defeated. Qiu Yaojie's eyes were filled with helplessness. Qin Wentian's trajectory was hard to predict and his speed was fast. He felt that even if he fought against a peak-level divine child, he would still have a chance to win. Only when facing Qin Wentian did he not know how to use his strength and how to fight. The next battle was still Qin Wentian. However, his opponent was Xia Ziluo of the Kuang sect. Xia Ziluo was clad in purple. She flew over with the Hell reincarnation diagram in her hand. Her slender jade-like hands were clenched tightly. She was very powerful, but she was a little afraid of Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was too bizarre. He could truly soar through the skies and burrow through the earth. However, after Xia Ziluo entered the barrier, Qin Wentian used his bright eyes to look at Yi Qinghan, who was sitting on the chair with a serious expression. He sighed softly and said, "I admit defeat for this battle." Everyone was in an uproar. Qin Wentian clearly had the strength to fight again, and Xia Ziluo was obviously not his opponent. They did not understand why she would admit defeat. Emoli frowned. He did not expect Qin Wentian to care so much about Yi Qinghan's feelings at such an important occasion. He felt betrayed, and that shame could not be erased. Humph! Emoli snorted in a low voice. He would rather Yi Kuan admit defeat against Li Feng than Qin Wentian admit defeat against Xia Ziluo. Perhaps this was the human heart, but unfortunately, things did not go as he wished. Yi Qinghan nodded at Qin Wentian and smiled gratefully. The more the Kuang sect gained, the less pressure he felt. After receiving Yi Qinghan's affirmation, Qin Wentian was in a good mood. He was even happier than when he defeated Qiu Yaojie. He skipped away from the barrier like a child. The next battle was between Yi Qinghan and Wu Zulong. Gotcha! Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and cracked his neck. The sound of bones cracking could be heard. Then, he stepped into the barrier. Xia Ziluo quickly left the barrier and stared at Yi Qinghan. She wanted to watch the battle between the top experts. Many kings were looking forward to watching the battle between the top divine sons. These existences could decide life and death in an instant. Their reactions and moves were the essence. Watching them fight to the death was far better than training for 10 years. Wu Zulong stepped into the barrier, but before he entered, the second-generation sorcerer god transmitted his voice to him. You are not his opponent. To avoid serious injuries, admit defeat. Wu Zulong's figure froze. He was furious. He did not expect the second-generation sorcerer god to look down on him. He could not help but clench his fists and step forward firmly. I will definitely win. At least he won't win so easily, Wu Zulong roared in a low voice. He stepped into the barrier and stared at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan smiled coldly and directly charged at Wu Zulong. He did not even bother to defend himself. He was domineering. You will pay the price for looking down on me, Wu Zulong roared. Sorcerer God's power surged and filled the barrier. With a sword in the air, he used the sorcerer race's ancestral technique. Sword Qi rushed towards Yi Qinghan. Both of them were extremely powerful. In the blink of an eye, they clashed. The moment Wu Zulong's sword touched Yi Qinghan, a desolate divine light flashed in Yi Qinghan's left palm. He then grabbed Wu Zulong's sword. Boom! Qi rushed into the clouds. Wu Zulong felt as if his sword was controlled by a supreme god. He could not pull it back or attack. Bang! Yi Qinghan punched his wrist that was holding the sword. Wu Zulong's sword flew out of his hand. He had snatched the white blade with his bare hands. Boom! Yi Qinghan followed closely. With a back whip, his leg smashed into Wu Zulong's head. He slammed Wu Zulong straight into the ground. Hua! With a stomp, a surge of divine power rushed out from the ground and bounced Wu Zulong up. Yi Qinghan pulled his body back and punched from behind. Flames burst out. Desolate world-breaking technique. Bang! Yi Qinghan's punch landed on Wu Zulong's chest. The power of desolation shattered most of Wu Zulong's life force. His organs were almost crushed. His soul was also severely injured. His body was like a kite with a broken string. He fell to the ground with a thud. He did not even have time to groan before he fainted. A simple empty-handed grab followed by a back whip kick and a desolate world-breaking technique. A top son of God was almost crippled. Chapter 1139. The second sorcerer god was furious. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to be so ruthless. He also did not expect Yi Qinghan to be able to snatch the sword with his bare hands and come out unscathed. This was impossible. He knows that I'm dealing with him? Otherwise, he wouldn't be so ruthless. Which Holy Land told him. The second sorcerer god stared at Yi Qinghan's back with a cold glint in his eyes. Yi Qinghan's face was dull, as if his divine power had been depleted. He left the enchantment in exhaustion. His right hand covered his left wrist, as if he had been severely injured. His pale face was definitely not fake. He's injured. I was wondering who could snatch the deity's sword with his bare hands and come out unscathed. It turns out that he used all his divine power to protect his left hand. Although there are no external injuries, his left hand is almost crippled and his divine power is depleted. It's not worth it for this point. The deities seemed to have seen through everything and could not help but laugh as they discussed. They all felt that Yi Qinghan did not have the strength to continue the battle and wished that they could meet him in the next round so that they could suppress him. Yi Qinghan sneered in his heart. If he did not pretend to be injured, the people below would not dare to fight. Then, how could he injure the deities? The second sorcerer god ordered his men to bring Wu Zulong back to the inn to recuperate. Then, he sent a message to Yi Qinghan and asked coldly, "Are you going against the sorcerer tribe?" Yi Qinghan's eyes glinted coldly as he said in a low voice, "You should know better than me who is going against whom first. If you don't want anyone to know, then don't do it. You've lived for so long, don't you know that you can't hide the truth?" The second sorcerer god's eyes glinted coldly as he scanned the 4 holy lands, trying to find out who was the one who betrayed him. However, after a quick scan, he did not seem to be able to find any other hidden partners of Yi Qinghan. The serpent saw that the two of them were at loggerheads and guessed that it would not end peacefully. It could only shake its head and sigh. Yi Qinghan saw the second sorcerer god's reaction and was even more certain that the sorcerer tribe was targeting the sect. They wanted to expel the sect. He couldn't help but feel annoyed, and his killing intent grew even stronger. However, maintaining the transmogrification of the Great Wasteland's tablet required too much mental energy. Yi Qinghan was indeed exhausted at this moment. He immediately sat down on the ground and began to recover his mental energy. The 3 matches ended quickly, and it was Yi Qinghan's turn to battle Feng Qingshan. This person was the inheritor of the Wind God, and his speed was the fastest. He could kill people from 1,000 miles away, and in the blink of an eye, he could travel 10,000 miles away. He was one of the strongest opponents. Yi Qinghan did not care. No matter how fast this person was, his lack of defense was still a weakness. The great desolation divine robe protected his throat, and even his head was protected by a faint energy. As long as he could block Feng Qingshan's attack, Feng Qingshan would be doomed. Yi Qinghan pretended to be weak and stepped towards the barrier. Feng Qingshan's temperament was indeed impressive. He stood tall and straight, and his aura was invincible. He had never been defeated since the start of the battle. The Wind God's blade in his hand was cold and threatening. It was stained with the blood of many kings and deities. My Wind God's blade only drinks the blood of the strong. It has drunk the blood of 300 kings and killed 3 deities. You will make it a legend. Feng Qingshan said indifferently. My fist has killed countless people. You are just an ordinary person. Yi Qinghan retorted with even more violence. Cut the crap. Your glory will end in my hands. Whoosh! Feng Qingshan's robe fluttered and his figure disappeared. The entire barrier was filled with his afterimages. This speed was not only fast, it had reached a heaven-defying realm. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and closed his eyes to sense Feng Qingshan's position. However, his speed was too fast. Even if he could sense Feng Qingshan's location, he couldn't catch him. The natural enemy of such an existence wasn't Yi Qinghan, but Emperor Yi. Her zither music could completely track Feng Qingshan's track. Feng Qingshan was also observing Yi Qinghan. He saw that the latter's face was calm and his hand was clenched. He was waiting for an opportunity to launch a thunderous attack. Yi Qinghan still didn't open his eyes. If the enemy doesn't move, I won't move. If the enemy attacks, I'll attack first. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Feng Qingshan's probing wind blade swept past Yi Qinghan's back, but Yi Qinghan didn't move. He finally lost his patience and personally attacked Yi Qinghan's back. Whoosh! The wind god's blade was incomparably sharp. It cut through the spatial shackles like tofu and directly swept towards Yi Qinghan's neck. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan raised his blade and slashed backwards. His speed was as fast as lightning. The defense on his right waist was weak, and Feng Qingshan seized the opportunity. His speed was extremely fast, and he slashed across the top of Crazy Zhong. Pucci! The wind god's blade quickly pierced through the outer layer of the golden armor. Yi Qinghan borrowed the force of the impact to fly backward. He crashed into the ground while spurting out blood as if he had suffered a serious injury. Whoosh! 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 Feng Qingshan felt that he had already touched Yi Qinghan's skin. He believed that Yi Qinghan must have been injured. He immediately gained the upper hand and attacked Yi Qinghan crazily. Yi Qinghan raised his blade and slashed wildly. He hit the wind god's blade squarely and borrowed the force of the impact to fly backwards once again. From the outside, he looked extremely miserable. However, only he knew that everything was going according to his plan. Showing weakness to the enemy, Feng Qingshan was looking forward to killing Yi Qinghan and displaying the might of the wind god. Boom! Feng Qingshan's energy erupted. The elements of the wind turned violent and formed countless wind blades that attacked Yi Qinghan from all directions. Yi Qinghan's divine power poured out and formed a huge defensive barrier around him. It blocked the countless wind blades. However, the barrier was getting weaker and weaker. It looked like it was about to be broken. Some people couldn't help but laugh. They knew that Yi Qinghan's glory was about to come to an end. Feng Qingshan was even more confident that Yi Qinghan was just an arrow at the end of its flight. It was impossible for him to withstand his strongest attack. He attacked the energy barrier forcefully. As expected, the defensive barrier couldn't withstand a single blow. The wind god's blade directly broke through the barrier and attacked Yi Qinghan. Boom! Yi Qinghan crazily attacked the wind god's blade. His strength was greatly weakened and he was forced to retreat. He lost control of his body and looked like he was about to lose. Feng Qingshan was overjoyed. His body flashed and the wind god's blade slashed towards Yi Qinghan's main body. It went straight for his throat. Whoosh! 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 The space collapsed. In the blink of an eye, the wind god's blade arrived in front of Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up. He gave up on the craziness and used his body to block the wind god's blade. He reached out and grabbed Feng Qingshan's head. Everyone was stunned. They felt that Yi Qinghan had gone crazy. Feng Qingshan was arrogant. He was confident that his blade could crush Yi Qinghan's body and soul. Therefore, he didn't dodge at all. Boom! When the wind god's blade hit Yi Qinghan's body, Feng Qingshan was shocked. The wind god's blade couldn't penetrate Yi Qinghan's defense. Moreover, he was caught by Yi Qinghan. Boom! Yi Qinghan grabbed Feng Qingshan's head and pressed it down. He used his knee to smash Feng Qingshan's head. Feng Qingshan's eyes were bloodshot and dizzy. Before he could admit defeat, he saw Yi Qinghan's fists raining down on him. Boom! 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 The brutal fists penetrated Feng Qingshan's defense. A kick deformed his leg bones. Then, Yi Qinghan flew up and used his knee to send Feng Qingshan flying. Crack! Ah! Feng Qingshan screamed and flew backward. However, Yi Qinghan caught up to him. Yi Qinghan's fist rushed out of the flames and hit Feng Qingshan's head. Feng Qingshan's head exploded on the spot. His soul and godhead were severely injured. We admit defeat. The divine master of the wind god bloodline immediately shouted and chose to admit defeat. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. In the end, he didn't choose to kill. His aura dissipated. He staggered and almost fell. His vigorous face seemed to have lost all color. It was as if he would collapse at any time. Chapter 1140. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They didn't expect Yi Qinghan to be able to last this long and even defeat Feng Qingshan. However, from the looks of it, Yi Qinghan couldn't even stand properly. He was definitely going to lose the next match. Emperor Yi quickly went up and supported Yi Qinghan. He discovered that his body was brimming with divine energy and didn't seem like a weak person at all. However, she had followed Yi Qinghan since she was young and immediately understood that Yi Qinghan was pretending to be weak. She pretended to be anxious and said, "Master, let's go down and admit defeat. It will be very dangerous if we continue fighting." Yi Qinghan clutched his chest and sweated profusely. He didn't expect Emperor Yi to cooperate so well. He laughed inwardly. This little girl actually knew how to lie. "Go down and admit defeat," Yi Qinghan said hoarsely. The next match was between Yi Qinghan and Coiling Tiger. Yi Qinghan didn't want to fight in the first place. Now, he could use this opportunity to tell everyone that he was heavily injured and let the next match's Son of God attack with all his might. In the end, everyone would realize that he was simply unkillable. Coiling Tiger was good at acting. When he heard Yi Qinghan admit defeat, he revealed an arrogant and disdainful expression. There was also unwillingness and anger in his eyes. He felt that he had missed an opportunity to end a legend. The second sorcerer god saw this and didn't doubt that Coiling Tiger had betrayed him. Don't allow him to have the chance to heal. Just admit defeat for the next two matches. Coiling Tiger and young Master Wen's strength is unquestionable. There's no point in continuing the fight, the second sorcerer god said to the holy masters of both sides. As expected, Coiling Tiger and young Master Wen's opponents directly admitted defeat. It was Yi Qinghan's turn to go up. Yi Qinghan had already admitted defeat once. If he lost again, the arrogant sect wouldn't have enough points. Force him to go up, force him to make a move. Yi Qinghan looked at his next opponent, Ji Wuhan, and saw him sneering. Clearly, he was unwilling to accept his loss to Emperor Yi and wanted to get back at him this time. "Yi Qinghan, I'd like to see you kneel and admit defeat," Ji Wuhan sneered. "Master, you can't fight. Just admit defeat." Emperor Yi pretended to be anxious and said, "That's right, there's no point in fighting like this. Even if you win this round, the next round is Emperor Xianyuan. You still won't have a chance." Gu Qingyu didn't understand what was going on and reminded him in a deep voice. The anxious looks on the Kuang sect members' faces could not be fake. Everyone was certain that Yi Qinghan did not have a chance to fight anymore. After taking two heavy blows from the Supreme Saint, it would be abnormal if he still had energy left. Yi Qinghan pushed Emperor Ye's hand away and walked resolutely towards the battlefield. Every step he took was laborious. It seemed like even walking was difficult, so what was the point of fighting? Even an ordinary king would be able to kill him. The second sorcerer god frowned as a cold light flashed past Yi Qinghan's back. He always felt that the Kuang sect was an uncontrollable force. Instead of letting him become an obstacle to the sorcerer tribe in the later stages, it was better to take this opportunity to eliminate him. The second sorcerer god waved his hand and summoned the sorcerer tribe's patriarch Wu Yi. He whispered a few words into his ear, and Wu Yi took advantage of the chaos to leave. The Kuang sect members did not notice that Wu Yi had left. They were still staring at Yi Qinghan, afraid that something would happen to him. Ji Wuhan quickly stepped into the barrier, his eyes cold and mocking. He wanted to provoke Yi Qinghan. He was afraid that Yi Qinghan would admit defeat halfway and miss the opportunity to end his glory. Yi Qinghan slowly stepped into the barrier. Before he could stand firm, Ji Wuhan did not give him a chance to admit defeat and directly attacked him. He was ready to kill him in one blow and become an unsurpassable legend. Killing Yi Qinghan was a contest between the saints. Whoosh! The primal chaos wheel turned into a bolt of lightning and charged at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan did not want to waste time, so he allowed Ji Wuhan to attack and waited for him to get close. Boom! The primal chaos wheel hit Yi Qinghan's right rib, and the powerful impact slammed him into the barrier. However, the primal chaos wheel did not break through the barrier. Yi Qinghan had indeed vomited blood from the impact of the primal chaos wheel. Although the great wilderness divine robe could resist divine power, there were still powerful impacts that it could not block. Yi Qinghan did not have any defense, so it was normal for him to vomit blood. Ji Wuhan was stunned. He did not expect that he would not be able to kill Yi Qinghan's physical body. While he was stunned, Yi Qinghan grabbed his hair and used his elbow to hit his head faster than a divine weapon. Buzz! Ji Wuhan was stunned on the spot. His head was dizzy. He raised his right hand, wanting to block Yi Qinghan's second attack, but his wrist was caught. Crack! The bones in Ji Wuhan's right hand were broken. Boom! Yi Qinghan raised his leg and kicked, hitting Ji Wuhan's elbow joint. Ji Wuhan's right hand was crippled, and the primal chaos wheel in his hand fell to the ground, sending dust flying. Boom! Boom! Yi Qinghan didn't show any mercy. His fists rained down on Ji Wuhan's chest, causing him to suffocate and faint on the spot. Ji Wuhan's body felt as if it had been struck by a supreme lightning tribulation. His muscles withered and withered as divine power filled his limbs and bones. The primal chaos Holy Land admits defeat. Stop! Primal chaos Holy Master was furious as he rushed to the barrier and shouted. The barrier dissipated. Yi Qinghan's eyes were bloodshot. He immediately pushed Ji Wuhan away and dodged to the side, afraid that primal chaos Holy Master would attack again. Yi Qinghan was on the verge of collapse. He was not just an arrow at the end of its flight. It looked more like a dying flash. His face was pale without a trace of blood, and blood dripped from his right rib. His rib was probably broken. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed the palatial Buddha pagoda in his body. It had already shattered. Primal chaos Holy Sun Ji Wuhan's compass attack was indeed strong. Even after being blocked by the Great Desolation Divine Robe, he could still shatter the palatial Buddha pagoda. His strength was evident. However, he had been tricked by Yi Qinghan because he had deliberately allowed Ji Wuhan to shatter it. Otherwise, he would not have had a chance. Ji Wuhan was defeated. The happiest person was none other than Qing Emperor Xianyuan. The powerful attacks of the people in front of him had heavily injured Yi Qinghan and injured him. Primal Chaos Holy Master hugged Ji Wuhan. Before leaving, he glared at Yi Qinghan fiercely, wishing he could kill him on the spot. Yi Qinghan supported Zhong Kuang with a bitter smile and slowly left the barrier. However, before he could get far, one side admitted defeat in the next two matches. It was his turn immediately. Everyone from the arrogant sect was furious. This was clearly aimed at Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, why would they admit defeat without fighting? Was it because the arrogant sect was not a supreme holy land that they should be eliminated? Seeing that Yi Qinghan was still struggling, the serpent Xinjiao could not help but sigh. Yi Qinghan, admit defeat. The arrogant sect will not be able to get the entrance to the Wangu Yuntian. You have at least 20 matches left to fight. Li Feng has almost 10 matches left. With so many matches forfeited, what can the others do even if they win? Yi Qinghan sneered and said sternly, even if the arrogant sect is eliminated today, none of the holy sons of the various holy lands will walk out of the barrier alive. Strong and domineering, Yi Qinghan exuded a towering battle intent. Or rather, it was his unwillingness and anger that supported him to continue fighting. Qing Emperor Xuanyuan's smiling face revealed a hint of admiration. It was impossible not to admire such an expert. I admire you. I will leave you with your dignity. Qing Emperor Xianyuan held the divine sword in his hand. His green robe fluttered in the wind and his aura soared. His figure moved, followed by tens of thousands of techniques. His sword qi almost materialized. Supreme holy techniques were attached to his body with the accompaniment of the heavens. He had a preliminary supreme battle strength. Qing Emperor Xianyuan stared at Yi Qinghan. He finally understood that he must not get close to Yi Qinghan. His physical body was simply too strong. Fighting him in close combat was simply courting death. His supreme holy techniques could not be used at all. Once he caught hold of him, his thunderous attacks would quickly make his opponent lose all resistance. Yi Qinghan's power was the barren divine power. It could instantly destroy the vitality of the physical body. No one could resist him in close combat, including Mo Li and Yi Kuan. No matter how strong their physical bodies in close combat were, they could not compete with him. Chapter 1141. While Yi Qinghan was cheating others in Blue Sky City's gambling arena, Wu Yi had mobilized the Sorcerer God Guards of the Sorcerer Tribe. These powerhouses had silently guarded the ancestral land of the Sorcerer Tribe for countless years. Every single one of them had a cultivation level that was not inferior to that of a chief god. They were killing machines without any emotions. There were only a few hundred of them, and he mobilized 30 of them. The 30 Sorcerer God Guards wore masks made in the chaotic era and quickly left the territory of the Sorcerer Tribe. They quietly arrived at the Six Paths domain and rushed to the Shura domain. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the night was enchanting, and the killing intent was even stronger. The Sorcerer God Guards might not be the strongest, but they cultivated killing techniques. They were extremely vicious, and their power was multiplied when used together. These days, the crazy sect's defense was empty, so the Shura team's patrol density increased. Xia Qiue, Lu Aotian, and the others' defense was also strengthened, and they were constantly patrolling the periphery. 3,000 elite experts of the ancient massacre god guarded the Xiaolong region, and 300 elite Shura team returned to defend the Shaozhanxing. These experts did not dare to be careless. If they were careless, the crazy sect's base camp would be uprooted. The leader of the Sorcerer God Guards led the experts into the Shura domain in the middle of the night. It was a moonless and windy night. The 30 people moved very quickly, and their traces were untraceable. They quickly crossed the entire Shura domain and came to the entrance of the Endless Galaxy. The entrance was guarded by a large army, and no one was allowed to enter or leave without permission. The weakest among the 3,000 armored soldiers was a medium god. This showed how strong Yi Qinghan's defense of the Endless Galaxy was. However, the 3,000 soldiers were nothing in the eyes of the Sorcerer God Guards. The 30 people scattered under the leader's signal and rushed into the camp. Cold light shone everywhere as they killed. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the 3,000 soldiers were destroyed. The captain was the outer sect elder of the crazy sect, Shuiyang. His overconfidence and mistakes caused the death of the 3,000 armored soldiers. He only woke up from his seclusion when the battle was about to end. He smelled the strong smell of blood and immediately sent a message to the rear. Jian Chenxue was resting and was awakened by the urgent sound of the communication charm. There were only a few words on it. Enemy attack at the entrance of the Endless Galaxy. Before Shuiyang could put away the communication amulet, a figure appeared behind him out of thin air. A short knife with a cold light pierced through his body. The communication amulet left his hand and was caught by the other party. The enemy attack has been dealt with. The man in black immediately sent a message to Jian Chenxue and put the message charm into his universe ring. In the time it took for 2 incense sticks to burn, the 30 of them had slaughtered 3,000 mid-level gods, a number of high gods, and even Master God Shuiyang had been killed. Let's end this quickly. Let's get rid of Guangzhong tonight. The leader of the Sorcerer God Guards immediately led his men into the Endless Star System. In the crazed sect, Jian Chenxue looked at the 2 messages and knew that the entrance was broken. Otherwise, the messages would not be like this, so he immediately took action. Boom! Jian Chenxue broke through the door of the insane sect's closed-door cultivation room. He found Yi Chentian and Su Shenyi, who were in closed-door cultivation, and said in a low voice, "There's an enemy attack. Get ready. I'll inform Uncle Xia and Uncle Lu." Void God Yi said immediately. "Which room is Brother Wutian in? I'll go find him," Yi Chentian quickly asked. Lin Wutian, Gu Qingyu's chief disciple, was also his only disciple. He had been in closed-door cultivation for a long time, and many people had forgotten about him. However, his strength was not inferior to Gu Qingyu's, and his sword will was sharper. "He's in the innermost room with your Aunt Mengxi. Ask them to gather at the entrance of the Xiaolong domain and block the enemy from the outside." The younger generation of the insane sect was all thrown out, and the sect was in chaos. Although these young people did not have much experience in fighting, they had a lot of experience in fighting each other. Their talents were frightening, and their combat strength was not bad. There were dozens of them, and the older generation was only left with Shi Ge, Yi Mengxi, and Jian Chenxue. Of course, Lin Wutian's strength was stronger than the older generation's experts. The reason he was left in the insane sect was to protect the sect. Lin Wutian was awakened by the knocking on the door. He opened his eyes, and there was no trace of life in them. He was like a sharp sword that was about to be unsheathed. He slowly stood up and saw a set of golden armor, reincarnation divine sword, and golden armor gloves in the closed-door cultivation room. These were given to him by Yi Qinghan. Lin Wutian immediately put on the golden armor and dripped his blood on it. He held the reincarnation divine sword in his hand. It was very handy, as if it was made for him. It was more than 1,000 times more powerful than the divine weapon in his hand. Good sword. Lin Wutian did not speak for a long time, and his voice was a little hoarse. Good sword, my ass. Come with me. There are enemies in the endless galaxy. I guess they're coming for the inner sect of the insane sect. Yi Chentian forcibly blasted open the stone door and dragged Lin Wutian out. On the way, Lin Wutian found out that the others had gone to participate in the gambling fight. The insane sect's defense was weak, and the enemies took the opportunity to invade. The Xiaolong region was silent for a long time. As for the restlessness, a large number of soldiers became active. Xia Qiu mobilized her army and surrounded Xiao Zhanxing. The 300 elite warriors of the Shura team were led to the entrance of the Xiaolong region by Yi Mengxi, and they were lying in ambush. The 3,000 elites of the ancient massacre god were also there, waiting for the enemies to fall into the trap. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lin Wutian appeared at the entrance of the Xiaolong region in a teleportation manner, and Yi Chentian followed closely behind. I'll go and see how many people there are. After Lin Wutian finished speaking, he teleported away silently, without any aura, like a sharp sword passing through time and space. At this moment, the warriors of the Witch God Guards were wearing blood-red clothes. They quickly crossed the central region and rushed toward the Xiaolong region. There was no region gate in the Xiaolong region, and anyone who wanted to enter the region had to fly. The insane sect would not be so stupid as to let people kill their way into the core region. Lin Wutian stepped forward and hid in the dark. He found that there were more than 20 figures rapidly approaching from afar. The fluctuations of divine power were very clear, but 3 or 4 of them were very weak. There were only about 30 people in total. Lin Wutian estimated that the insane sect was strong enough to crush them, so he secretly retreated. Jian Chenxue looked dignified. When he saw Lin Wutian coming back, he immediately asked, "How many people? How long will it take for them to arrive here?" "About 30 people. The weakest of them is at the King God realm. Their divine power fluctuations are very weak. I guess they are from the chaotic era. Their secret techniques are of a high level, and they are good at formations. When they appear, I will lead the Shura team to break them up and kill them separately," Lin Wutian said quickly. "Later, you will find your own targets. In short, don't let them gather together. Jian Qinshu nodded, and his eyes were full of seriousness. The 3,000 iron-armored guards were wiped out in such a short time. The newcomers must be very strong. It would be difficult to defend against them with so few people. At this moment, Xia Qiue and Lu Aotian each appeared at the entrance of the Xiaolong region with 1,000 guards. Is the defense at the rear ready? Jian Qinshu asked quickly. Yes, all the armies at the major gateways have been mobilized and entered the Xiaolong region. With the support of the star formation, even if 10 giant gods attacked together, they would not be able to break the barrier in 3 to 5 days, Xia Qiue said in a deep voice. Chapter 1142. The star formation had been fully activated. Lin Wutian and the others waited patiently for the enemies to arrive. Once they entered the endless star system, they would not be able to leave. At the entrance of the endless star system, the smell of blood filled the air. The Shura region reacted quickly and sent a large number of experts to block the entrance. The experts all rushed to the Xiaolong region to support the crazy sect. However, their speed was much slower than the witch god guards. The stars in the endless star system shone brightly. In the Xiaolong region, there was a path between the Xiaolong star and the burning star. It was the only way to reach the Xiao War star. Lin Wutian turned into a divine sword and stood on the burning star, quietly waiting for the witch god guards to arrive. 30 witch god guards rushed to the entrance. Their divine power was extremely weak. Their movements were unified and there was no flaw. It was not easy to disperse them. Whoosh! Lin Wutian turned into a sharp sword and pierced through the void. He rushed out from the dead star and attacked the center of the witch god guard. He split his sword into 3 and wanted to break the witch god guards apart. Kill! With a roar, Yi Chentian and Yi Mingxi rushed over. Following the 3 sword lights, they attacked the center of the witch god guards and cut through the defense of the 30 people. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Lin Wutian's sword was extremely fast. It was cold and piercing to the heart. Boom! The ancient massacre god, the Shura team, Lu Aotian, and Xia Qiue all surrounded the witch god guards with their own personal guards. They almost did not care about their own lives. They only hoped to delay the witch god guards. Their faith was terrifying. They did not care about their own lives at all. This was their faith. They would rather die for the crazy sect. They believed that dying in battle was glorious. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! The 30 shaman divine guards had masks covering their faces. They were emotionless and their attacks were deadly. Experts fell one after another, including the ancient massacre god and the powerful Azura team. There was no need to even mention the personal guards of the 2 lieutenants. Corpses fell from the sky and blood stained the dead star. The dead were only angry and desperate. They did not even want to scream. Boom! 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 The Shura team was the strongest. After more than half of them died, they finally broke through the 30 witch god guards together with Lin Wutian and other experts. Ancient massacre god Shura team also rushed in. PSSH. Lin Wutian pierced a sorcerer god guard with his sword. He swept his leg and turned the corpse into a bloody mist. He shouted angrily, "Just delay them. Leave the rest to me." Kill, Lu Aotian and Xia Qiue were over-god level experts, but their individual combat strength was clearly not the strongest, especially when facing existences like the sorcerer god guards. But now, they had brought their personal guards and charged over. Hundreds of people surrounded one of the sorcerer god guards and used the corpses to slow down the expert. Lin Wutian and Yi Qinghan were the strongest. Their attacks were almost always fatal. Lin Wutian's sharp sword constantly pierced the flesh of the strong warriors. Yi Qinghan had inherited Yi Qinghan's ruthlessness. His iron fists were merciless. Under the protection of the golden armor saint garments, he swept through the group of enemies with a method of mutual destruction. In an instant, he had seriously injured 3 masters. The ancient killing god and the Azura squad charged at the heavily injured sorcerer god guards and stalled them. In the blink of an eye, Lin Wutian had taken the lives of 6 sorcerer guards. The speed of his sword was so fast that it could not be seen. The great Nirvana swordsmanship was displayed to the limit. The group of 10 young children ganged up on one person, but they were still able to suppress him. It was almost a replica of the older generation of the insane sect. They had stalled several sorcerer god guards and reduced the losses of the insane sect. The leader of the sorcerer god guards at the forefront was almost at the giant god king level. He was extremely powerful. He took the lead to kill Lin Wutian. He wanted to kill this expert first, but he was stopped by Jian Qinxue. 9th Heaven Snow. Heaven and earth freeze. Freeze. Jian Qinxue had never gone out. She was either accompanying Wang Shi at home or taking care of the children. However, her cultivation base had never dropped. She had been cultivating diligently. Yi Qinghan had not mistreated her. She had sufficient resources. As long as it was a secret technique that Yi Qinghan knew, Jian Qinxue knew almost all of it. Even if the difference in combat strength was too great, she would not be unable to stop a giant god king elite. Whoosh! The king elite was frozen on the spot. Snow drifted for thousands of miles. The huge icicles were stronger than divine weapons. The leader of the sorcerer god guards could not break free in a short time. Great, desolate, imprisoning heavenly finger. Boom! Jian Qinxue attacked violently. She mobilized all the divine power in her body and poured it out. The divine power was vast and mighty, and the divine light tore through the darkness. It formed a huge fingerprint and blasted toward the icicles. Bang! Whoosh! The icicles shattered into powder. The leader of the sorcerer god guards was severely injured on the spot. He coughed up blood and flew backward. However, under Jian Qinxue's continuous attacks, he did not have much strength to fight back. It was not that the sorcerer god guards were too weak, but Wu Yi had underestimated the insane sect. He thought that all the elite kings of the insane sect were in Blue Sky City. Therefore, he only sent 30 sorcerer god guards and only 1 giant god king expert. They were stopped as soon as they appeared. Among the kings of the insane sect, Lin Wutian was considered a top king. In addition, Jian Qinxue had not gone out for 10,000 years and only knew how to cultivate in seclusion. This group of sorcerer god guards was doomed. Whoosh! 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 Boom! 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 Yi Chentian and Lin Wutian, one with a fist and the other with a sword, shuttled through the crowd. More than half of the 29 ordinary sorcerer god guards were wiped out on the spot. 2 of them were captured alive by Lu Aotian and Xiaqiue. Unfortunately, they bit the poison in their mouths on the spot. Their corpses were not preserved and dissipated in the air. This group of people did not have any special secret arts. They only had killing technique. It seemed that they were born to kill. Lin Wutian saw that the leader was still standing there, trying to escape. Lin Wutian blocked his way and shot a beam of light at his throat, forcing him to use all his strength. He wanted to see which force he belonged to. However, he didn't expect that the leader would bite the poison in his mouth and commit suicide as well. The corpses collapsed, leaving behind only 20 or so ordinary sorcerer god guards. They did not have any equipment. Although their blades were sharp, they did not have any special markings. They looked very ordinary. In just 1 incense stick's worth of time, the ancient massacre god had lost more than 1,000 men, the Azura team had lost nearly 100 men, and Xiaqiue and Lu Aotian's personal guards had also lost more than 1,000 men. Jian Qinxue was not happy at all. Instead, he was furious. The Kuang sect had not suffered such a loss for a long time, let alone this time in the endless star system. This group of people is dead. I guess there will be a second wave of stronger existences. Let's go back and defend Shao Zhanxing first. Inform the Shura region to mobilize the army to guard the entrance. We will also ask the 10,000 arts returning sect and the beast tamer sect for support. Jian Chenxue said immediately. Should we inform father? Yi Chentian asked. I will inform him. This group of people is of unknown origin. I am worried that we will not be able to defend against them since they are so powerful. Jian Chenxue immediately sent out a large-scale messaging charm. The void distorted and a layer of energy light curtain appeared. Outside the blue sky city, Yi Qinghan had just shattered Emperor Xuanyuan's physical body and escaped with only his soul. When he returned to the outside of the barrier, he saw Jian Chenxue's urgent message. He immediately returned to the inn and answered the message. When he heard that the base camp of the Kuang sect had been attacked by experts, he was furious. Have you found out which force it is? Yi Qinghan asked in a deep voice. No. Their equipment is uniform and their cultivation is very strong. Their combat strength is almost the strongest among the Overgod. They are almost on par with giant god kings. Their assassination ability is unprecedented. They have caused a large number of casualties in a short time. I am worried that this force will send more experts, so I am informing you, Jian Chenxue said helplessly with a solemn face. Go back and defend Xiao Zhanxing. Don't come out again. I will send people back to support, Yi Qinghan said immediately. Chapter 1143. Yi Qinghan could not take the attack on his base. He gritted his teeth and returned to the outskirts of the city, looking extremely upset. Yi Qinghan had suppressed several deities. Everyone thought that he could not hold on any longer. Moreover, he pretended to be weak, which made the king elites behind him even more excited. How many of us have the competition ended? Yi Qinghan looked at Medusa and asked softly. Brother Yen is done. He's not suitable for the battle arena. He only fought 2 battles, 1 win and 1 loss. He's not in the later battles. Everyone else has at least 1 more battle, Medusa replied. Yen Yunbei looked up at Yi Qinghan and asked through voice transmission, What's wrong? Something happened in the endless galaxy. An unknown force attacked us. The first wave was blocked, and Wutian is the only super powerhouse left. I'm worried that he won't be enough. Brother Yen, you don't have any more battles. Bring all the supreme divine powers back and stop the enemy at all costs. We'll return as soon as we're done with the battle, Yi Qinghan said immediately. Yen Yunbei did not say much. He was not suitable for the competition. He was only suitable for assassination and defense. He took away more than 10 drops of supreme divine powers from Yi Qinghan and the unconscious Li Feng. They disappeared from Blue Sky City quietly. That night, the Beast Tamer lineage and the Unifying sect received a request for help from the Insane sect. Bai Fengyun and Yi Jingxing each led 100 top-notch half-step lords from the City of Spells into the Azura territory. They guarded the entrance of the Endless Galaxy and received a drop of supreme divine powers from the Insane sect. 2 of the 3 clan elders from the Beast Tamer lineage came. The clan elder from Martial God City brought almost all the experts from his lineage. The clan elder from the Xianyuan lineage also brought more than 10 lord-level experts. All of them guarded the entrance. The Endless Galaxy deployed their troop. The army gathered on the 2 dead stars behind Owl Warstar to prevent the enemy from taking a detour and coming from the depths of chaos. The army of 30 million was a sea of people. Although their cultivation bases were not high, they were willing to fight to the death for the Insane sect. Their faith was absolutely pure, and they would not regret dying on the battlefield. Jian Chenxue thought about it again and decided to let Roger from the South Horizon region lead a group of experts back to help. After all, there were many experts there. In the South Horizon region, Roger was currently assessing the cultivation of the young disciples of the region. He had developed this region to a considerable scale, and everything was run according to the rules. The city lords of the 18 cities were also extremely loyal. They were attracted by Roger's charisma and no one dared to go against his will. When Roger received Jian Qinshue's request for help, he immediately gathered the 18 city lords and ordered them to bring the most powerful lord-level experts in their cities. There weren't many of them, only about 130. However, they had improved a lot over the past few days. Their combat power was very strong. When they heard that the crazy faction needed reinforcements, they were not afraid. Instead, they were excited. This was a great opportunity to make a contribution. However, not everyone had the chance to go and help. After all, the South Horizon region still needed someone to guard it. I will only take half of the strongest with me. The rest will guard the South Horizon region. All the rules will be the same. After I leave, the South Horizon region will be handed over to my assistant, Xian Jian. As the governor, everyone has to listen to his orders. Roger quickly announced the list of people to follow and looked at a young man beside him. This young man was Xian Jian. His eyes were full of wisdom, deep and bright. His strength was not bad as he had just entered the high god realm. However, his wisdom and talent were worthy of Roger's careful nurturing. Xian Jian, I will leave the South Horizon region to you for the time being. They will cooperate with you, Roger said solemnly. Yes, sir. Xian Jian was very respectful and admired Roger from the bottom of his heart. Although his cultivation was not high, his words and actions were quite powerful. No one dared to go against his will. The aura of a superior was as if he was born with it. After settling the South Horizon region, Roger took 60 experts to the Azura region through the region gate. They happened to meet Yen Yunbei at the entrance of the Azura region. A group of people stepped into the entrance of the Endless Galaxy and rushed to the Xiaolong region as fast as lightning. Kuang Zong's reaction was very fast. However, in the ancestral land of the sorcerer tribe, Wu Yi was furious when he saw that the 30 sorcerer god guards he had sent were all killed within the time it took for a stick of incense to burn. Kuang Zong, I have underestimated you. Even with so many experts, you can still kill 30 of my sorcerer god guards in such a short time. Wu Yi stood in the sorcerer god temple, his eyes flashing with cold light. He waved his hand and said coldly, Sorcerer god guards, the first team will follow me to the Endless Galaxy. No one is allowed to carry any sorcerer tribe accessories. All of you will wear the waist pendants of the Demon God Mountain. Whoosh! A row of black-clothed people appeared in the Sorcerer God Temple. There were 100 experts. Overall, each of them was stronger than the first batch of Sorcerer God guards. They wore masks and had no emotions. Whoosh! Wu Yi waved his hand and a row of waist pendants filled with demonic qi appeared. The runes on them were very special. They had the symbol of the Demon God Mountain's Demon God Guards. It was a demonic blade with pure demonic qi, almost identical to the waist pendants of the real Demon God Guards. It was hard to tell with the naked eye. Even if I can't wipe out your Kuang Zong, I can still make you fight with the Demon God Mountain. Wu Yi sneered and left the ancestral land with the first team of sorcerer god guards. In the Endless Galaxy, the atmosphere that had been silent for thousands of years became solemn once again. Once upon a time, the people of the Endless Galaxy thought that no one would be able to invade the place with the Kuang Zong. They would be safe and would not have to suffer the pain of war. However, they understood that the Kuang Zong's strength was far from enough. Being vigilant in times of peace was not necessarily a bad thing for the Kuang Zong. The peaceful Endless Galaxy indeed needed to experience danger and make the people of the peaceful Endless Galaxy active again. Yen Yunbei carried Li Feng on his back and quickly entered the Owl Dragon region under the protection of Luo Jie and the others. After revealing his identity, Lin Wutian welcomed everyone into the Owl War Star. Li Feng was placed in the Inner Sex Divine Herb Garden. Majestic spiritual energy and divinity rushed into his body to help him heal his injuries. However, Yan Yunbei did not want to stay in the Owl War Star and wait for reinforcements. He was the one who led the ancient massacre god to protect the endless galaxy. His leadership and commanding ability were definitely not inferior to Lu Aotian and Xia Qiue. Wu Tian, Chen Tian, you, Brother Lu, and Brother Xia will each take your personal guards to the rear and cooperate with Brother Lu Zhan Tian's Steel Dragon Army to guard the 2 dead stars behind the Owl War Star. Once there is an enemy attack, shoot the cloud-piercing arrow. I will go and provide support. Yan Yunbei looked at the star map of the endless galaxy and quickly decided. The 2 dead stars were fortresses that guarded the depths of the chaos. Lu Zhan Tian had always led the Steel Dragon Army to guard them. This had never changed, as his army was indeed terrifying and far more cohesive than other armies. There were only 300,000 soldiers in the army, but these 300,000 soldiers were all elite. The weakest of them were intermediate god priests, and most of them were high gods. Half-step lords could only be centurions, top half-step lords could be chiliarchs, and overgods could be tribunals. This special army could not be mobilized by anyone. Unless the Owl War Star was about to be attacked, Lu Zhan Tian would not mobilize the army to reinforce it. Soon, Lin Wutian, Yi Chen Tian, and the others went to the Steel Dragon Pass to cooperate with the army to guard the 2 dead stars. Now, the dead stars had been built into giant cities. A large amount of soil had been watered, and a large number of divine herbs had transformed the dead stars. They were about to become habitable planets. Yan Yunbei entered the entrance of the Owl Dragon region alone and hid on the dead stars. Chapter 1144. In Blue Sky City, Yi Qinghan was on tenterhook. Although he was here, his heart had flown to the endless star system. This went on for 6 hours, and Zixian's 6 battles were all over. Yi Qinghan immediately found Zixian and whispered, "Go back to Xiaolong region and investigate the identities of those people. Remember, don't fight them head-on. Wait until our battles are over." Zixian nodded and left Blue Sky City. The continuous departure of the insane sect's members attracted the attention of the second sorcerer god, but he didn't care. Wu Yi must be ruthless in his attacks and wouldn't leave behind any future troubles. The insane sect's experts were all here, and they couldn't stop the sorcerer god guards. On the other hand, Yi Qinghan continued to stay in the arena. Every time he was on the brink of death, he wouldn't die. He would kill his opponent at the most dangerous moment. Of the 9 battles, aside from the one where he admitted defeat against Coiling Tiger, he won all the others. The other kings were more unlucky and died on the spot. On this day, the insane sect won more than 30 points and had a total of 160 points. Their ranking dropped to 10th place. The various Holy Lands seemed to be targeting the insane sect. In the battle at night, Nangong Yunlan rushed forward and won 12 points in one fell swoop. After finishing all his matches, he still couldn't reverse his decline. He hung at 10th place, 3 points behind 9th place. Yi Qinghan still had 22 matches left, and it looked like he wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer that night. Many people came forward one after another, wanting to finish him off. In the end, without exception, all of them were defeated by him. In one night, he went on another 10 matches and won 10 consecutive matches. Damn, Yi Qinghan can't be killed? Is this guy faking it? Look, he can't even stand, but he can always catch people off guard and kill kings. It's been like this since the second battle. It's getting worse and worse, but he's killing more and more people. The Primal Chaos Sacred Leader was furious. The Primal Chaos Sacred Ground had suffered heavy casualties. Even the Saint Ji Wuhan was crippled and couldn't recover in a short time. The second sorcerer god took a deep breath and stared at Yi Qinghan, but he couldn't tell if he was seriously injured or just faking it. Find someone to test it out. Saint Lord Xianyuan was infuriated. Xianyuan Qing Emperor's physical body had been shattered, and it would take at least 1,000 years to recover. How could he not hate Yi Qinghan? Right now, of the younger generation of holy sons, only Coiling Tiger, young Master Wen, Devil Li, and Qiu Yaojie can act. But Qiu Yaojie is someone from the Karma Holy Land. Ji Tian's demon spirit isn't willing to cooperate, and Devil Li isn't someone we can control. As for that ethereal body, asking her to test Yi Qinghan is just asking for trouble. Coiling Tiger or young Master One. Only the two of them can test if Yi Qinghan is truly injured or if he is faking it. The second sorcerer god transmitted his voice. Many Saint Lords nodded. Saint Lord Xianyuan went to talk to the Pan clan personally, hoping that Coiling Tiger or young Master One would test Yi Qinghan. The Pan clan's Saint Lord didn't agree immediately. Instead, he called for Coiling Tiger. Hearing that he wanted to test Yi Qinghan, Coiling Tiger refused on the spot and said coldly, "That's not realistic. Yi Qinghan's strength isn't ordinary king level. I can sneak attack him without revealing my identity. But he's so strong. Either young Master One or I will reveal our identities. Do you want our Pan clan to go to war with the insane sect?" The Pan clan's Saint Lord nodded, thinking that Coiling Tiger's consideration was very thorough. Since he didn't want to go to war with the insane sect, he naturally couldn't sneak attack Yi Qinghan. Helpless, Saint Lord Xianyuan could only leave. The various Saint Lords were extremely depressed. Yi Qinghan was still dragging his battered body, covered in blood, and killing another king-level expert. He had won 20 battles in a row. Now, his face looked like a corpse without a trace of blood. His eyelids were drooping, as if he was so tired that he couldn't even open his eyes. Indeed, Yi Qinghan was very tired because he had to concentrate on controlling the Great Desolation armor with the divine birds and other divine beasts. However, he wasn't injured at all. His injuries were purely an act. Yi Qinghan had less than 10 battles left. The insane sect had fought continuously, and most of the experts had finished their matches. The Peerless Holy Land had also completed its mission and obtained 30 points. Medusa calculated the remaining point. Finally, a smile bloomed on her face like a blooming flower. Divine light flowed around her, breaking her skin upon contact. "We still have 15 battles to fight. We're currently in 10th place, but the following battles are much lower than us. According to my calculations, it will be very difficult for the following forces to make a comeback unless we lose more than half of the remaining 15 battles." Medusa smiled. Yi Qinghan let out a sigh of relief. With his current strength, he didn't need the Great Desolation armor to win. He already had more than half of his points. Jiang Jingtian and Gu Qingyu should be able to win by 2 or 3 points. Just as he was about to withdraw the Great Desolation armor, the Great Desolation armor suddenly shook and shrank, as if it had sensed something. Yi Qinghan was shocked. This was the first time he had seen the Great Desolation monument react like this. He quickly looked around vigilantly, but didn't discover anything. Rip! Yi Qinghan's clothes directly tore apart. It was obvious that the wound was caused by a sword. The eerie saber chi penetrated the Great Desolation armor and entered his body. Boom! Yi Qinghan raised his palm and struck the void in front of him, causing the earth to shatter. "What the hell is this?" Yi Qinghan took a few steps back and stood in front of the Kuang sect members. His expression was extremely ugly. Although his palm strike missed, he had received a solid attack. "What's going on?" Jiang Jingtian and the others were shocked. They had never seen Yi Qinghan attack in front of them. Yi Qinghan didn't care about disguising himself anymore. There was no need to. He dispersed the Great Desolation armor and used a portion of his mental power to search the surroundings. However, he didn't find anything. Only then did the various sacred lords realize that Yi Qinghan was faking it. They were furious, but they were also attracted by Yi Qinghan's current situation. The second sorcerer god and the others were shocked when they saw the golden armor on Yi Qinghan's chest being cut open and covered in blood. He was attacked? Who did it? The serpent was shocked. He didn't know who could kill Yi Qinghan silently and escape unscathed. Didn't that mean that the person could also attack them and escape unscathed? The second sorcerer god shook his head. His expression was very serious, indicating that it wasn't one of his men. Pucci, immediately after, a scream was heard from the sorcerer race's camp. A powerful elite fell to the ground and died. His blood turned white and there was no sign of life. Yi Qinghan kept retreating. His eyes shone brightly. He had a feeling that this thing was after his great desolation monument. Whoa, everyone was in an uproar. Someone could kill someone in front of the sacred lords of the various sacred lands and escape unscathed. Boom! Yi Qinghan suddenly struck with his saber and slashed at the front left. There was an obvious mark on the ground that wasn't caused by the saber chi. It was a footprint. Bang! Yi Qinghan followed up with a sweep of his saber towards the footprint. The saber chi flew through the air. It was obvious that the saber chi was hitting the void and wouldn't be blocked. However, after a boom, everyone realized that someone could hide themselves. A wave of air rushed out in all directions, and the footprint immediately disappeared. Chapter 11:45. The footprints disappeared, and it was as if the thing that had attacked him had never existed. It was impossible to capture. Only 6 or 7 footprints remained in front of everyone, proving that someone had indeed attacked Yi Qinghan. Even the second sorcerer god was shocked, let alone the sacred masters of the various sacred lands. What kind of creature is this? Transparent? Yi Qinghan frowned and looked at the second sorcerer god, hoping that he could give an answer. So it really exists. Outside, there are really powerful creatures? The second sorcerer god muttered, unable to believe what he was seeing. 9 worlds. Transparent god race. Great desolation domain. Destroyed. You are the master of the desolation. The transparent god race has found you. Quickly return to your body. The Great Desolation Monument transmitted an inexplicable message. Yi Qinghan was shocked. The chaotic universe was one world, and there were 8 worlds outside. The Great Desolation Domain had been destroyed, and the invisible god race had sensed the Great Desolation Monument and come to silence him? I'm the master of the Great Desolation? I'm not from the chaotic universe? But I was born on Owl War Planet. What's going on? Yi Qinghan's mind was in a mess. He had no idea what the Great Desolation Monument's message meant. Second Senior, what's the situation with this transparent person? Where did he come from? Yi Qinghan asked in a deep voice. Everyone looked at the second sorcerer god. He was the oldest and came from the chaotic era. If he didn't know about the transparent person, the serpent probably wouldn't know either. As for the other sacred masters, it was even more impossible for them to know. I don't know. This is the first time I've seen such a thing. I heard from Father that there are powerful creatures outside, ridiculously powerful. Some sacred masters from the outer realm came to Father, but I don't know what they talked about. Later, he left and never came back. However, I know that not long after he left, a war of gods broke out. The second sorcerer god's expression was ugly. He couldn't imagine why the outer realm creatures would invade the chaotic universe. The serpent god Flood Dragon didn't know why the divine war had erupted, nor did he know that there were creatures in the outer realm. Therefore, he wasn't frightened by the outer realm creatures. However, he knew that the invisible outer realm person had attacked Yi Qinghan the moment he appeared. It was impossible for him to attack repeatedly for no reason. Yi Qinghan, what do you have that's so powerful that it doesn't belong to the Chaosverse? I hope you can answer me honestly, the divine python dragon asked. Yi Qinghan was shocked. Besides the Great Wastelands tablet, what else could it be? However, He had only transformed the Great Wasteland's tablet into a protective armor. He had not even used it in battle. If this invisible person could sense it, wasn't that too ridiculous? However, only he knew that the invisible man was definitely attracted by the Great Wasteland's monument. Yi Qinghan shook his head repeatedly, muttering to himself. The Great Wasteland's tablet says that I'm the Lord of the Desolates. This means that I'm not from the Chaosverse, but from the Great Wasteland's domain. I must have participated in the war with the Outer Realm. The Great Wasteland's tablet must be something famous in the 9 realms. Once it appears, it will definitely shock the world. Did I use the Great Wasteland's tablet to attract the attention of the Outer Realm creatures? Yi Qinghan slowly deduced. It seemed flawless, but he couldn't be sure that his deduction was correct. Buzz, just as Yi Qinghan was deep in thought, Emperor Yi suddenly played the zither. The zither hummed and the melody echoed. He closed his eyes and sensed the musical fluctuations, trying to find the invisible man. Swish! Emperor Ye's figure suddenly rose. The melody was rapid and spread in all directions. Buzz! 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 The melody became slower and slower. Gradually, Emperor Yi stopped playing the zither and turned to look at Yi Qinghan. He whispered, "It left." Yi Qinghan didn't feel lucky. If that thing left, it might ask for help. When the Outer Realm creatures attacked the Chaosverse, the sacred grounds wouldn't be able to stop them even if they worked together. Do you still want to continue the competition? You can't eliminate the insane sect. If you continue, your losses will be even greater. Yi Qinghan coldly said. The sacred grounds were silent. Apart from Mo Li and Coiling Tiger, almost all of the other sacred grounds' gods' sons had been defeated by Yi Qinghan. The remaining small fries wanted to take the opportunity to kill Yi Qinghan, but now they didn't even dare to think about it. The insane sect can get an entrance. It's the entrance you used to enter from Evil Spirit Mountain. I don't think anyone will want to fight with you. Second Sorcerer God squinted at Yi Qinghan. He felt more and more that he couldn't see through him. Knowing that he couldn't kill him, he decided to do him a favor. Yes, this old man agrees that the insane sect can get an entrance. Karma Sacred Grounds' Sacred Lord followed. The other sacred grounds didn't want to fall out with Yi Qinghan anymore. Most of them agreed, while the rest remained silent. Yi Qinghan looked at the sacred lord's expressions. He wanted to know who the culprit was, but he couldn't find any clues. I want to warn all of you, senior sacred lords. Don't think that the insane sect has no one. Even if I bring most of the inner sect's experts to participate in the competition, the endless star system isn't something that dozens of top experts can break through. The first attack has already been wiped out. It's best if there isn't a second attack. If I capture someone alive and find out who the culprit is, don't blame me for not warning you. The insane sect is no weaker than a sacred ground. Yi Qinghan coldly said. The sacred lords looked at Yi Qinghan in shock. They didn't seem to know anything about the attack on the endless star system. Yi Qinghan scanned the crowd. He didn't seem to know what was going on, but he was sure that it wasn't the work of invisible people. If there were more than 30 invisible people, the insane sect wouldn't have been able to stop them. Since it wasn't an outer world creature, it must be someone from a sacred ground. Humph! Yi Qinghan snorted and said to the second sorcerer god, since the entrance to the insane sect has been confirmed, you don't have to consider us when you distribute the spoils. We'll leave now. After that, Yi Qinghan immediately rushed into Blue Sky City with a large group of people. After bidding farewell to Nangong Yunlan and the others, he directly took the space gate and went straight to Shura region. Shura region. Corpses were everywhere. The casualties were heavy. Even the 2 clan elders of the Beast Tamer clan were injured. However, the entrance was still intact. Zixian was 1 step late. When he arrived, Yan Yunbei also rushed over from Shaolong region. The group of people didn't want to be entangled and retreated, leaving behind a few corpses that were destroyed by the sword Qi. It was as if they were destroying evidence. The attacker's clothes were very old and ordinary. When he took off his mask, he looked even more unfamiliar. It was as if he had never appeared before. Zixian searched carefully and finally found a broken waist pendant. It had been cut into several pieces, but after piecing it together, it could still be restored to its original appearance. The waist pendant of the Demon God Guard? Impossible. The people of the Demon God Mountain aren't fools. Why would they wear a waist pendant when carrying out such an important mission? Are they afraid that others won't know their identity? Zixian frowned. Yan Yunbei bent down and looked at the waist pendant carefully. It still retained its demonic nature. The runes were very powerful. It seemed to be the work of a sacred ground. Chapter 1146. In the Shura region, a simple battle with only 100 people had caused the Shura region to lose hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Blood flowed like a river and flooded the land. The Shura team was almost completely annihilated. Even though Yi Jingxing and Bai Fengyun had the powerful divine armor and divine weapon, as well as the divine power of a top-tier master god, they were still seriously injured. The two clan elders were even more so. Their strength was definitely not inferior to the top experts of the inner sect. They were not much weaker than Jiang Jingtian. However, their chests were almost pierced through. The divine beasts in their bodies were also dying. The wings of the divine beasts with the phoenix bloodline were broken, and they fell into a pool of blood. When Yi Qinghan brought everyone back, he saw the scene in front of him. His eyes were spitting fire. He quickly organized the army to save the people and bury the corpses. Did you find out who it was? Yi Qinghan looked at Zixian and asked in a hoarse voice. Zixian stretched out her hand, holding the broken waist pendant of the Demon God Guard. She said in a crisp voice, "This is the waist pendant of the Demon God Mountain's Demon God Guard. However, from what I know, they will not wear it when they are on a mission. Just like the divine eye guards of my clan, they are all existences that protect the ancestral land. Normally, they will not use it. They are very powerful. Once they use it, they will give up their identity and will not bring it out. I suspect that someone is trying to frame the Demon God Mountain and cause us both to suffer." Frame? Sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight? Yi Qinghan's lips curled into a cruel smile. He was the ancestor of scheming people. Second brother was also a divine bird. Only a divine bird could trick him. No matter what, it was not anyone else's turn to trick him. Brother Jiang, take the two clan elders to rest. They must have fought with the invaders. I don't believe that the enemy did not leave any flaws. Yi Qinghan sneered. Looking at the corpses, they were all the treasures of the insane sect. If they did not take revenge this time, where would their reputation be? Where would their dignity be? Immediately, Jiang Jingtian brought the two clan elders back to the central region of the endless star system to rest. Then, he joined the rescue team. This time there were quite a few people who died, but there were even more who were injured. Many of them were seriously injured, and with divine medicine, they could still be saved. Yi Qinghan did everything he could to save the lives of the injured. In a single night, he saved nearly 60,000 people. Most of the injured were sent to the central region of the endless star system. All that was left were severed limbs and corpses piled up like mountains. After a day and a night, the death toll was finally calculated. The two attacks had killed a total of 280,000 soldiers. 100,000 were severely injured, and more than 200,000 were lightly injured. More than 100 of the tribunus-level experts had died. This was the pillar of the insane faction. Looking at the number of deaths and the cultivation levels of the dead masters, Zixian quickly came to a conclusion. It must have been a divine guard from one of the supreme holy lands. Otherwise, it wouldn't have caused so much damage. said Zixian in a muffled voice. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He was furious, but he also saw the weakness of the insane sect. They had too few experts and resources. They were not on the same level at all. I will find out who you are. Yi Qinghan coldly snorted, then ordered the army to bury the dead soldiers not far from the ancestral grave in the central region of the endless star system. This was a large cemetery. Only those who had sacrificed themselves for the endless star system could be buried here. Everyone regarded being buried here as the highest honor. The cemetery was divided into several sections. In front of each section, there was a tombstone that belonged to their own camp. There was the ancient massacre god, Lu Zhantian's Iron Dragon Army, Lu Lan's Blade, Xiaoqiue's Dragon Cavalry, Azura Team. There were more than millions of tombstones, and more people died for the endless star system. Yi Qinghan personally buried this group of people and carved the tombstones. Although he was tired, he did not feel that it was a waste of time. After returning to Owl War Planet, Yi Qinghan immediately went into seclusion to recover his mental strength. The pressure on the arrogant sect was unprecedentedly great. First, they had to face the invisible person from the outer realm. Everyone knew that he was here for Yi Qinghan, so it could not be anyone else. Secondly, they had to find out which Holy Land attacked the entrance of the Azura domain. The Holy Lands ended the gambling fight hastily, and in the end, the entrances were divided. The strong demon god mountain occupied one entrance, while the other forces occupied one entrance for 2 Holy Lands. Some even occupied 3. Once the rights to the entrances were decided, all the forces rushed to their own entrances and forcibly opened them. They set up camps in front of the entrances and developed a large city. Only the arrogant sect and the Supreme Holy Land did not move. In the past few days of gambling, Yi Qinghan had used up a lot of his mental strength. After dozens of days of rest, his mental strength had increased explosively. It was close to the level of a Holy Lord, and his combat strength had reached the level of a Holy Lord. His ability to resist attacks was definitely not something that 10 Holy Lords could resist. The most important thing was that more than 10 godhoods had been condensed to the strongest state. Now, he just needed to complete the 9 Revolution Chaos Dao body and condense the Supreme Godhood. He still lacked some great Dao boundary markers. Everything was ready except for one thing. The great Tao of time and space boundary marker was in the inner space of the Great Wasteland steel. Yi Qinghan did not directly comprehend it. Instead, he came out of seclusion to think about how to deal with the current situation. More than 20 experts of the arrogant sect gathered. Yi Qinghan sat in the main seat and looked at the more than 30 corpses in the main hall. They were all the corpses of the witch god guards. However, there were no clues as to which side they belonged to. They were now frozen. "Do you have any clues?" Yi Qinghan asked hoarsely. The first group of people did not bring the demon god guard's waist pendants. The second group did. However, the uniforms of the 2 groups clearly belonged to the same organization. Now, I can't guarantee that these people are not from the demon god guard. Perhaps we can only find some clues if we find Mo Li and ask him to take out the demon god guard's waist pendants for comparison. Zixian quickly concluded. Yi Qinghan nodded and decided to go to the demon god mountain personally. If he did not find the culprit, that group of people would rush out like snakes and bite the arrogant sect at any time. With clues, he would at least know who to guard against. At this moment, Nangong Yunlan and Nangong Aoshue of the Supreme Sacred Ground appeared in the Owl Dragon region. They were stopped by the army. Yi Qinghan hurriedly asked Di Longtian to bring them here, hoping that they would be able to find some clues. After all, Nangong Yunlan was a top-notch Holy Sun, and her understanding of the Holy Lands was much better than Purple Immortal. Soon, Nangong Yunlan and Di Longtian landed on the Owl War Star and entered the arrogant sect's shrine. Nangong Yunlan looked at the corpse lying on the ground and carefully rummaged through it a few times. She took off a piece of clothing and said in a low voice, "This kind of clothing has not been seen in the world for a long time. It is definitely from the sacred ground. This kind of rune and divine energy fluctuation is very common. We cannot find the real culprit with just these clothes. These demon god guards almost never appear in the world. Once they do, they will remove all clues related to them." Yi Qinghan handed over the waist pendant of the demon god guards, but it was broken. Nangong Yunlan took the pendant and observed it for a long time. She shook her head and said, "It should not be the real thing, but a replica. You will be able to tell if I show you my clan's supreme sacred guard's waist pendant." After saying that, Nangong Yunlan took out a waist pendant made of a special material. It was very soft and the supreme sacred energy on it was very pure. It was filled with light and boundless energy. However, the demonic nature of this broken waist pendant was not as pure as Yi Kuan's demonic nature, let alone Mo Li's demonic nature. Since it was a replica, Yi Qinghan could more or less confirm the identity of the culprit. There might be many who wished for the arrogant sect and the demon god mountain to fight, but those who dared to frame the demon god guards and had the ability to do so, the biggest suspect was the shaman race. Chapter 1147. After confirming the witch race, Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed with coldness. The temperature in the hall dropped rapidly. "If you dare to trick me, I'll make sure you suffer," Yi Qinghan muttered. He clenched his fist and adjusted his state of mind. He took back the pendant and said indifferently, "Since they want me and the demon god mountain to suffer, then I will give them a taste of their own medicine. I will make a trip to the demon god mountain and return in 3 days. We will talk about everything after I return." After that, Yi Qinghan left the insane sect. His figure flashed and appeared outside the Xiaolong region in the blink of an eye. In terms of strength, Yi Qinghan had improved a lot. Just based on his speed, he had surpassed some of the saint's sons. However, in terms of speed, no one could surpass Feng Qingshan. The demon god mountain had already occupied their own entrance to the Wangu Yuntian. They were preparing for a large-scale invasion to seize resources and develop the demon god mountain. Once the entrance to the Wangu Yuntian was completely occupied, a sacred ground would undergo earth-shaking changes. The demon god mountain was the same. There were countless resources in the Wangu Yuntian, enough for the chaotic universe to develop for countless years. No one even knew how big the Wangu Yuntian was. The Wangu Yuntian, the Primal Chaos Plane, the Azura Hell Mountain Range, and the Abyss World formed a huge Primal Chaos world. Every major force had built a huge domain gate at the entrance and sent a large army to guard it. Every entrance had at least 10 giant gods guarding it. Only the insane sect's location had not been moved. However, it had a natural barrier, and that was Hating. As Hating grew, this place would become an insurmountable barrier. Emoli deployed a large army to guard his entrance. The elite kings and battle physiques were all recuperating. They were preparing to enter the Wangu Yuntian to absorb resources. After obtaining the resources they needed, they would undergo the final evolution. They would bathe in demon blood and display the might of the demon god mountain. At that time, the witch race would be suppressed. Most of the sacred grounds had to join hands to suppress the demon god mountain. Yi Kuan sat in the main seat of the demon god palace. The two of them were facing each other. The demonic nature and evil qi in their eyes sent chills down everyone's spine. Emoli looked at the two fighting but didn't stop them. Back then, the great demon god controlled his subordinate. They could fight as long as they were obedient. However, he had only learned the surface of the great demon god mountain. The key was that these two strongest subordinates of the great demon god mountain range weren't obedient. Yes, names's name, names's hearts's Tao. If there were benefits. We have already made a list of the resources we need to enter the Wangu cloud sky this time. Everyone, search according to this list. As long as you obtain the resources, you will be able to bathe in devil blood and restore your golden body, returning us to the Archdevil God era. Emoli bowed, and his deep voice reverberated in the hall. In the Demon God Palace, everyone's battle intent soared. It was as if they had returned to the days when the great demon god ruled the world. No matter how evil and arrogant Yi Kuan was, his didn't change. He hoped to become a peak expert and rule the world. If Emoli could become the great demon god, he was willing to fight together with him. Emoli looked at the SSSSSSS satisfied. He waved his hand and said, "All battle constitutions and King Realm elites, follow me to the Wangu Yuntian's entrance and clean up the battlefield." After speaking, Emoli brought Yi Kuan, Qin Wentian, the 4 battle constitutions, and the hidden elites out of the Demon God Palace. They took the space gate and arrived at the Wangu Yuntian's entrance. The Demon God Mountain had occupied the Wangu Yuntian's entrance, and there was already an army stationed there. This place was less than 1,000,000 li away from the Demon God Mountain. Passing through the space gate would only take a moment. The group of people stepped through the entrance forcefully. Looking at the colorful entrance, they were incomparably excited. In the past, if no one touched the Wangu Yuntian's entrance, no one could touch it. Now that they could enter, how could they not be excited? This was a space that hadn't been exploited for hundreds of millions of years. The space inside was vast and boundless, even bigger than the primal chaos plane. There were immeasurable treasures and wealth inside, and it was the favorite of the elite kings. Only with these treasures could they become the great gods of the primal chaos era. Experts like the serpent god Flood Dragon were even more terrifying than the current Saint Lords. "Follow me to open up a new battlefield." Emoli took the lead. His spear pierced through the vortex, dispelling the clouds and directly rushing in. Yi Kuan followed closely behind. He was ruthless and wanted to surpass Yi Qinghan at all times. He wanted to suppress him, and the resentment in his heart was already twisted. Xiao. Following closely behind were Qin Wentian and the other battle constitutions, elite kings, and many unfamiliar faces. There were even more than those who had participated in the battle. High mountains and forests, birds flew in the sky. The sky was blue, and the outside was flattened by the Demon God Mountain, forming a huge city. There were at least hundreds of thousands of troops stationed there, and there was a space gate that led directly to the Demon God Mountain. Swish, 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 swish. Emoli rushed into the eternal cloud sky great world, and was shocked by the aura of primal chaos. There were thousands of ravines, and there were supreme treasures and spirit herbs everywhere. The flying birds' cultivation was not inferior to high gods, and they flew in the air, dyeing the mountains and rivers red. Roar! A huge monster rushed over from afar, waving its hand and smashing towards Emoli. Whoosh! Whoosh! Boom! Emoli stabbed out with his spear, and the stable space of the eternal cloud sky great world rumbled unceasingly. His spear struck the monster's huge palm, but it couldn't break through its defense at all. It was a supreme-level monster. Back then, Yi Qinghan and the others had joined forces to barely defeat the Violet Gold Divine Wolf King. This monster, which looked even bigger, was definitely not inferior to him. Pung! Emoli was directly sent flying, and his expression changed greatly. Boom! 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 Yi Kuan, Qin Wentian, and the others had just entered when they saw Emoli being sent flying. They immediately channeled their divine power, and more than 10 experts attacked together, sending the huge monster flying. Roar! The monster let out a mournful roar, and its killing intent soared to the sky, as though it was calling for reinforcements. The rumbling sound pierced through their eardrums, and the experts frowned. Emoli furiously roared, "Kill it first! Stabilize this territory and let more experts enter." Whoosh, whoosh, boom, boom, boom. The plunderers had no emotions. Under Emoli's lead, they attacked the monster without any hesitation. The monster was sent flying on the spot, and its blood-curdling screams resounded through the clouds, shaking the heavens and the earth. Mournful roars came from the depths of the ravine, as though they were supporting the monster. Moreover, several powerful forces were rapidly approaching. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect to encounter such a terrifying creature the moment they entered the eternal cloud sky great world. Pucci. Emoli channeled his divine power, and his spear pierced through the monster's defense, piercing through its long leg. However, he was sent flying several hundred meters by the huge palm. Soon after, 2 birds and 3 or 4 powerful black bear-like creatures rushed out from the depths of the ravine. They trampled on mountains and rivers, and broke ancient trees as they charged over. Screech! The birds roared as though warning them. Retreat! Emoli knew that they had entered the eternal cloud sky great world too suddenly, and he immediately rushed towards the entrance, sweeping everyone away from the eternal cloud sky great world. Entering with a strong momentum and leaving in a sorry state, everyone finally understood how dangerous the eternal cloud sky great world was. Right at this time, a demon god mountain elder stepped out of the gate and found Emoli. He respectfully said, "Lord Demon God, Yi Qinghan of the Mad Sect wishes to see you at the Demon God Mountain." However, he came in a threatening manner and seems to be very angry. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.